coffee? Check. Partisan hack talking points? Nope, not here. This is Mike Ferguson in the morning on NewsTalkSTL.
The Missouri legislature is now on spring break, so we got a little bit of a reprieve from all of that local political stuff. But boy, what's happening in Illinois? A lot going on. Matter of fact, tomorrow is the primary election there. So those of you on the Illinois side of the river, you got a decision to make. Who's going to challenge J.B. Pritzker? And obviously, a lot of news over the weekend from the war in Iran. We're going to have updates on that throughout the day as well. Happy Monday to you. Mike Ferguson here. Speaking of the war in Iran, now listen, we know that there are surveys and polls that show not a lot of people have really made up their mind on this, both on the right and on the left. The left more likely to oppose, but there are still a lot of questions about what we're doing and how far we should go and that sort of thing. And those are fair questions. So we've had a lot of discussions on the show, people who support the president's decision to go to war with Iran. There are those on the right who disagree as well, and there's nothing wrong with hearing that conversation as well. We had that late last week with author Charles Goyette. He wrote the book Empire of Lies, among many others, and I thought he made a really interesting, thought-provoking argument against the war. I'm not saying that we necessarily agree full-fledged with him or not, but I'm saying is that we should be strong enough to take in different perspectives. Check this out and let me know what you think. All right, we've done several interviews over the past week and a half with leaders and with activists who support the war in Iran, who support that military offensive in Iran. And I think conservatives I've been accused of being more of a conservatarian. I think we're capable of hearing the other side of the debate, especially if it's coming from closer to our side and not some fringe left code pink type.
Yeah, this is not going to be a CNN harumph.
So the book is called Empire of Lies. It's written by Charles Goyette, and he joins us right now. And Charles, I wanted to set things up like that. Appreciate you being on the program here. In that, I'm uneasy about this. I'm reserving judgment. There are a lot of very compelling arguments being made by the administration and by obviously the pundits out there. So let's kind of pick some of these apart, because I think people can land on either side in really, really good faith, even if I disagree with whatever side I agree with. For instance, let me start with the underlying claim that's being made. I don't think anybody's going to argue that the world is worse off because the Ayatollah, is no longer in charge out there, at least that guy. And the argument being the head of the snake was cut off. It was really expensive and hard to do it, but eventually the world is safer and that's better for everybody. Start with that basic premise that was used to go into Iran. What's your assessment of the reasoning, at least the main reasoning we were given?
Well, there was a time that conservatives, and by the way, thank you, Mike, very much. It's an honor to be on your program. There's a time that conservatives had an instinct to question unforeseen consequences. In other words, second order, third order effects, and so on. Saddam Hussein was toppled pretty readily in the Iraq war. In fact, everybody ought to remember that 6 weeks after that war started, President Bush landed on the deck of an aircraft carrier and proclaimed mission accomplished. Banners to that effect, a big TV event, and so on. That war went on for another 8 years. And we see this all the time. This so-and-so is Hitler. If we can only replace Hitler, then we will have won an awesome victory. And then they replace that Hitler, and another Hitler pops up in his place. And this goes on over and over again. But we seem to be, Mike, incapable of understanding that these things go a lot deeper than the visible effects that, if you take this guy out, everything's going to be hunky-dory or at least better. And that certainly hasn't been the case. We toppled one guy after another. In fact, let me give you a couple of just really quick thumbnail examples. We toppled Muammar Gaddafi in Libya. It unleashed a flood of illegal immigration to Europe. We toppled Bashar Assad in Syria not so long ago. And who did we, and by we I mean the United States primarily, install in his place? A guy by the name of al-Shara, who 18 months ago had a $10 million bounty on his head. The State Department, the U.S. taxpayers thought this guy was bad enough, and he was, terrorist enough, and he was, that he deserved a $10 million bounty on his head. That was only, that lasted until about 18 months ago. And now we have installed him as the president of Syria. We gave him, as a friend of mine says, we gave him a $90,000, somebody gave him a $90,000 Swiss watch, trimmed his beard, put him in an Armani suit, and now he's this great enlightened leader. But the carnage goes on in Syria, and the people that sent their fathers and mothers and sisters and brothers and sons and daughters against ISIS and bin Ladenites throughout the Middle East over all those years had no idea that we were going to elevate one of their kind to rule Syria. So all of these things seem to have very little foresight of the possibilities, Mike, in my view.
Let me try to paraphrase, some of the other arguments being made, and this would be kind of a connected argument to the, well, he was a bad guy, he exports terrorism. Senator Ted Cruz was talking about 90% of the funding for all these proxy groups come from Iran, which is probably pretty documentable, which is, like I said, a compelling argument. The other one being nuclear weapons. They were days, weeks, months, whatever it was. We can't let them get there. And that's very compelling. You don't want a terrorist exporting and terrorist funding nation to have nuclear weapons that could reach our allies in Europe, particularly NATO. So how much of this can be argued that it is preemptively defensive? And I know that sounds like an oxymoron, but that's basically one of the arguments being made.
Yeah, it's always a defensive war. It's usually a defensive war in search of a pretext. It was WMDs in Iraq. In this case, it's the same thing really. We can't wait to see the signs of the smoking gun in the form of a mushroom cloud. I don't know. They gave up their enriched uranium in the first deal. The head of the IAEA said as recently as this month that there was no structured program to manufacture nuclear weapons. They were not within days or weeks of building a bomb. The Congress has been briefed just a week ago that there was no intelligence. Pentagon officials, there was no intelligence indicating Iran was planning a preemptive or a first strike against U.S. forces. So, we've really opened the floodgates. And while President Bush announced the end of combat operations and a mission accomplished, yesterday President Trump basically announced that we had won this war. You know what I'd like to remind your listeners of, if anybody's interested, they should go look at a Pentagon wargaming exercise, the largest one in history up to that time. It was actually set in the Persian Gulf, the red team versus the blue team, and it was a case of asymmetric warfare. And the blue team had I don't remember which color was which, but the one team had all the electronic surveillance, the big jets, the high-tech equipment, the radars, and so on, and yet using simple techniques, Marine General Paul Van Ripper beat the heck out of them with instead of using telephones that could be surveilled to understand what they were doing, they used couriers on motorcycles and bicycles to deliver messages. They used all of this so-called primitive stuff. They encoded messages to their fighters in the daily call for prayers. So they beat the tar out of the sophisticated team in the Millennium Challenge exercise, so much so that the Pentagon stopped the wargaming. They were embarrassed by their losses, and then they changed the rules of the game, and they started it again, and they got beaten again. And people can read about that in Malcolm Gladwell's book, Blink. It was a huge embarrassment, and General Ripper resigned in the middle of the game because they kept changing the conditions, and they wouldn't let him declare victory. So this thing is nobody can say, but this thing is not necessarily even close to having been won.
All right, the book is called Empire of Lies. It's written by our guest, Charles Goyette. Okay, so that brings me to the next question then. It seems that we're at some decision point here. Obviously the president's saying, hey, it's basically won. We're just going to keep going until we know they can't fight back, which is what he said yesterday just off of Air Force One. And then there's also the question of, okay, at some point constitutionally he has to go, and legally he has to go to Congress, who has to make a decision to fund this for $50 or $60 billion or pull the funding from this.
is there an argument to be made that even if this was a mistake going in, even if there are going to be unintended consequences, that once you're halfway in, you've got to at least finish the job? What would be the wise and the safest and the most constitutional course of action from here into whatever's next?
Well, I remember a Republican presidential candidate debate during the Iraq War when Ron Paul had the guts to say, we just marched in, we can just march out. I mean, we're looking at things that I don't think anybody really understands. We have watched conversations about the introduction of forces on the ground in Karg Island. Somebody in the administration, I hope they've abandoned this one. Somebody in the administration said, "Well, we can arm the Kurds in northeast Iran, and then they can do our fighting force as they have in the past. We can victimize the Kurds into cannon fodder once again." And I thought, has anybody mentioned that to Erdogan in Turkey? Because that will be the end of the NATO alliance. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe NATO should have ended when the Soviet Union collapsed, since that was created for. But all kinds of stuff is going on. The former president of Israel, Naftali Bennett, says Turkey is next on the list. John Bolton says the next objective, the real objective, has to be Russia. I mean, these things are beginning to spin out of control, and there's a reason that nobody knows where it's going, and that is just something that you have identified. There was no declaration of war. We've engaged in continuous war. You know, the founders included that provision about a declaration of war, that only the people's representatives, the Congress, has the right to declare war, because it is the people who pay for it with their lives and their prosperity. The reason they put that in there, it wasn't like, well, we're going to have divided government, so let's give some authority here and some authority over there. We'll divide everything. They were well learned in the precedents that the executive branch, be it a king or a duke or a prime minister, has propensities to engage in needless wars, and that is why they lodged the war-making authority in the hands of the people. But the debate over declaring war includes all these things that we haven't gotten. What is the objective? What is the rationale? What are the resources we intend to vote to this? How do we know when we've achieved a victory? All of those things are debated and discussed and determined, so we know exactly what we're doing. It puts Americans on alert. It puts foreign adversaries or foreign allies on alert that we are formally in a war, and these are our objectives. And we haven't done that we haven't done that since World War II. It is a big mistake.
Okay, Charles, we just got a couple minutes left here, but what would then be in your view, the right role of the U.S. presence around the world? I mean, nothing happens in a vacuum anymore. We're so interconnected. Is there an argument for isolationism, or is there an argument to say we have vital national interests that need to be protected or influenced by a strong U.S. presence around the world? What's the right balance, if there is a balance?
Yes, thank you, Mike. The right balance is the prosperity, the making America great again. Actually, it's the prosperity of the American people. Our might, our awesome global might over the years has flowed from our prosperity. But empires in their end stage, and it's a syndrome that is well known. It's called empire overexpansion or imperial overstretch. In their declining stage, they see their decline in influence and control and hegemony over the world as a result not of their failing economic prowess, but as a result of as a challenge that has to be met in military terms. And so they divert even more money from the productive sector of the economy that made them awesome and mighty to begin with, and they devote it to military imperialism and presence all over the world. Let's make America great again. Let's rebuild this country. Let's let the American people prosper, and it will make us mighty and unchallenged again.
Okay, the book, once again, Empire of Lies. We're going to find a way to put that up on the News Talk STL bookstore if people want to find that. But people want to be in touch with you, Charles. They've got questions. Follow your writing on this. What's the way to do it?
Well, they can go to empireoflies.com, empireoflies.com, and I'm on X, Charles Goyette, Goyette.
Okay, 314-912-1019. As always, that's the number to be involved in the discussion. And Congressman Bob Onder going to be with us at 7:35. We'll have the update from him as well. All right, this is 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Yes, I listen on my phone.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
Love the all-new NewsTalk STL app.
It is awesome.
And listen anytime,
Love the NewsTalk STL app.
anywhere.
Country Mart in St. Clair is having a 16-hour sale. Saturday, March 21st, 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. Stock up with unbeatable prices. 2 pound of red ripe strawberries, $2.99. Dozen Best Choice Grade A large eggs, 2 for $3. Family pack ground beef, $4.19 a pound. 6-pack Pepsi products, 3 for $9. Family pack of chicken drumsticks, $1.19 a pound. Chester's 8-piece fried chicken, $9.99. Hurry while supplies last. See all items on our Facebook page. Country Mart on Plaza Drive in St. Clair.
Hey, it's Susie Moore. If new flooring makes you think hassle, think again, because Michael's Flooring is changing the game. For over 30 years, Michael's has been locally owned and trusted for quality, variety, and amazing service. Whether it's carpet, hardwood, laminate, luxury vinyl, or ceramic tile, their expert team makes installing new floors exciting, not stressful. That's why customers keep coming back. Visit Michael's Flooring at St. Peter's, Starting Prairie, Creve Coeur, or online at igotfloored.com. That's igotfloored.com.
Hey, it's Chris Arps. Becky and I recently discovered a restaurant that's quickly become one of our go-to restaurants, Timothy's in Creve Coeur. Led by executive chef Will Mabry, Timothy's serves contemporary American cuisine with a touch of Southern charm. Dishes like pastrami, smoked lamb, and shrimp and grits. My wife absolutely loved the lobster pot pie, and everything we've tried has been incredible. Amazing house-made desserts and over 500 wines to choose from. Enjoy dinner 7 nights a week, plus lunch, brunch, and private events. Timothy's in Creve Coeur at 12710 Olive Boulevard or online at timothysstl.com.
Do you own a timeshare? Well, face the facts. You made a mistake. You made a bad purchase. A timeshare is not an investment. It's a money pit that continues forever. If you use your timeshare, that's great. But if you don't and you want to legally get out of your contract, call my friends right now at the Timeshare Exit Hotline. They're an experienced team of lawyers who help good people like you get out of a timeshare contract that they just don't want. Don't throw away your money on maintenance fees. Use it for things you really want. We can help you end your timeshare contract and stop the money drain immediately. If you're ready to move on with your timeshare, call our team right now.
Cancel your timeshare now with this free call. 800-524-1641. 800-524-1641. 800-524-1641. That's 800-524-1641.
Do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes? Are you being audited or investigated? Has the IRS sent you a letter demanding payment? You may not owe what they claim. Make this free call to the tax doctor now. Let them negotiate with the IRS on your behalf.
800-240-4586. 800-240-4586. That's 800-240-4586.
Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
You know, I get it. A lot of people just look for any reason to party, right?
Yeah.
And I don't quite, maybe it's just I'm of a certain age, but I don't get the celebrating your area code, your phone area code. So 314 day. But why do so many people use the excuse to party as a reason to get stupid, which is what happened throughout the city?
I'm going to be completely honest. I did not realize it had to do with the area code. I thought it was 314, like Pi Day.
Yeah, well, that's nationally, but around here, it's about the area code.
So you just got to show how wild your area code is, I guess.
Yeah, and I know this is something that around the country, like people like tattoo their area code, and that's like, I don't get it. Of course, if you're in kind of the northern part of the Missouri side here, you can't do June 36th. There's no 636 day. I'm just saying, but there's a 314 day, and that's become like a party day for the city, just so you know. And party days for the whole city mean shots are fired and people take over streets and cops are involved, and it just got beyond stupid. So I've got the basic details in the news dump up here. And then I think 620, I want to go into this a little bit more because the police essentially, now that they don't have to worry about, woke City Hall cracking down on them, they're pretty blunt. They're saying, who was not involved in all this? Parents. You know who was doing it? They're miscreant kids. Now they use nicer words than that, but that's essentially what was happening. And I've got one of the sound bites. We can go talk about that because we know what the problem is, but they just can't get a handle on it. And so with the police and City Hall basically saying, look, we're curing crime. It's down. Something like this happened. Some of the violence happened pretty darn close to where my daughter lives. And she lives in a pretty nice apartment. And so I keep begging her to move out of the city. And at some point they're going to have to.
Start charging the parents.
Well, that's what let's talk about. I mean, they're under. I mean, they've had some thoughts about that. Especially when we had what was the last big miscreant day that 4th of July, where they were arresting the kids and starting to try to look for ways to cite the parents. So that may be the answer. It really may.
Well, I mean, if your kid is acting up like that and they think that's okay, then clearly you're not doing your job as a parent. And if you're not doing your job as a parent, that's either child neglect or child abuse by law.
Well, and you're inflicting your ineptitude on the rest of us.
Yes.
As well. All right, 620. I want to get into that. Start sending me your thoughts now. We'll try to get as much of that in the conversation as possible. Filled up my car with gas yesterday.
Oh, how bad that hurt?
$50.
Ooh.
I have become accustomed to, 32 to 35. And I'm like, the numbers keep going up. The numbers keep going up. Numbers keep going up.
At the one near me, it was 40 cents higher than when I filled up last week.
Yeah.
So I'm glad I did when I did.
And you've probably got, a 12-gallon tank probably in your Jeep?
I think 13.
Yeah, I think 12. That's about what I've got, 12 or 13. And because usually I go and I'm like, okay, about $35. That's what I've gotten used to since we finally got the gas prices down after, the Biden years. And we got a little soft. We got used to the lower prices. We got used to that $2.20, $2.29. And I don't remember what the exact per gallon was, but $50 to fill up. I had not done that in a while. That sucked. And it's probably going to get worse. Fortunately, I don't have to drive that much at this point. I live pretty close to the radio station, other than baseball practice here and there. But if these prices don't go down over the next few months, that's going to affect a lot of people's ability to travel or buy other things. It's going to have a bigger effect on the economy.
One in 4 women will have an abortion before the age of 45 in this country. That's the tragedy we must work to stop. Mike Ferguson from The Morning Show here, and that is why Reach Reproductive Health is here, to empower parents to save the lives of innocent children and to see these families come to Christ. And you can be a part of saving and changing lives. So pray and visit outreachforlife.org to learn more, volunteer, and donate. That's outreachforlife.org.
Dozens of out-of-state law firms are crashing into St. Louis trying to get your business. My advice, rely on a hometown firm. Onder Law has been here for years. There are lawyers raising their families right alongside yours. And when you're injured by someone's careless actions, you are entitled to full compensation. You want lawyers who will not bend to big insurance, but will stand defiantly protecting you. Onder Law, O-N-D-E-R, underlaw.com. Onder wins.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Mark Schmitz, father of Jared Schmitz, the founder of the freedom13.org.
We've met with Trump now, I think it's 6 times. Trump has been fantastic. What you see on TV is what you get in real life. I mean, we spent 6 hours at private dinner with him. It wasn't stuffy. It wasn't uncomfortable. It literally felt like you were at your Uncle Bob's backyard barbecue, but he knew information about my son.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL.
If you turned 65 recently like me, it's important you find a Medicare Advantage plan that gives you the coverage you're looking for. But finding one can be difficult. The best thing I did, and I suggest you do the same, is call a licensed insurance agent and let them walk you through your Medicare Advantage plan options. There are so many benefits you have access to, so make the call now and let the representatives explain everything to you. Our licensed insurance agents can offer you a variety of Medicare Advantage plans. Plus, the call is free, the information is free, and there's no obligation to enroll. We're here to make it easy for you to select a Medicare Advantage plan that may work for your needs. Finding a Medicare Advantage plan can be easy if you do what I did. Make a quick call right now to learn more. Thank you.
800-439-7851. 800-439-7851. 800-439-7851. That's 800-439-7851.
Now you can fly anywhere in the world and pay discount prices on your airline tickets. Book a flight today to London, Paris, Madrid, or anywhere else you want to go and pay a lot less guaranteed. Call the International Travel Department right now at Low Cost Airlines.
800-515-2397. 800-515-2397. That's 800-515-2397.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at NewsTalkSTL.com.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Greg Clugston in Washington. Israel is reporting damage in central areas after Iran launched more missiles earlier today. We've all seen the higher gas prices sparked by the war, and they won't be coming down right away.
AAA says the average price of a gallon of gas is about $3.60 a gallon. Speaking on NBC's Meet the Press, Energy Secretary Chris Wright says Americans will feel the impact of energy supplies being cut off from the Strait of Hormuz for a few more weeks.
It is a short-term disruption in the flow of energy. Americans are feeling it right now. Americans will feel it for a few more weeks.
But Wright believes the war could be over in a matter of weeks and thinks there's a good chance the price of gas will be below $3 a gallon by the start of the summer travel season. This Atlanta resident says she's feeling the impact of higher prices.
I think they're quite expensive right now, especially for $4.30, 87. That's a lot.
Oil prices have reached $100 a barrel, and analysts have said if the Strait of Hormuz remains closed, prices could jump to $150 a barrel. I'm Mike Hempel.
Mark Chenard at the National Weather Service says there's lots of extreme weather hitting the U.S. right now.
We've got the blizzard moving across portions of the Midwest to the Great Lakes, severe weather risk across from the Mississippi Valley into the Mid-Atlantic, and then the well above normal temperatures across a lot of the West. Different varying levels of hazardous weather, but a lot of areas are seeing, weather that is on the anomalous side for mid-March.
A tornado watch is in effect for the greater Washington, D.C. area. Public schools are closing early in the region. Congress has canceled all votes for the day. More on these stories at townhall.com.
The following is a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
I had a lot of credit card debt, and it stressed me out. But what I thought was a solution turned out to be a problem. I kept hearing ads about debt settlement that seemed too good to be true. And actually, it was. When I called, they told me to stop paying my bills. That didn't sound right to me at all, so I hung up. Later, I found out that debt settlement is bad, real bad. Then I learned that there is a right way to pay off your credit cards. It's called a debt management program from the great team at Trinity. Trinity had a plan. In the end, I paid off my bills, I saved thousands, and I even improved my credit score.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976.
My name is Heather. Please forget debt settlement and remember Trinity Debt Management.
1-800-990-6976.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Winter hits back hard today with much colder temperatures, strong winds, even a couple of pockets of snow this morning. We're stuck in the 20s all day, high at 29. Wind chills in the single digits early, between 10 and 15 this afternoon. And those gusts out of the northwest, 40 to 45 miles per hour this morning, slowly coming down this afternoon. And yeah, some light snow from time to time. Minimal impact on the roads, but a slick spot or two possible. Skies clear tonight. It is frigid, down to 15 for the morning low, and a mostly sunny but chilly St. Patty's Day at 36. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Chris Cooper and Serenity Wealth Management. Discover little-known strategies that could be the difference between choosing the care you deserve or having someone else decide it for you. Get a free copy of Chris's book at serenityltc.com.
Lower your car payment today. Lower your car payment today. Yes, you heard us right. You can lower your car payment right now by making this free call and save up to $1,400 a year on your current car payments. Think about your current car payment right now. What's that costing you per year? Now think about what it would be like to put an extra $1,400 back in your pocket. That's the average savings our customers experience. We can help you drive the same car and pay less every month by lowering your car payments interest rate to as low as 4.67%. At Rate Genius, we can work with you to refinance any car payment. If you qualify, it costs you nothing to find out how you can lower your car payment. To learn more, call this number right now.
800-493-5670. 800-493-5670. 800-493-5670. That's 800-493-5670.
All the information I need on the drive to work.
Mike Ferguson in the morning. I keep it on throughout the day, whether it's local, national, or something big that's happening overseas.
News, analysis, and opinion.
St. Louis is #1 for conservative talk.
News Talk STL.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. Mike Ferguson.
I'm not like the rest of you. I don't make mistakes.
Susie Moore.
What you're telling me doesn't sound logical, my dear.
Get up! Can't you hear the alarm? Get up, St. Louis.
You need to get to go. I need to be able to get where you need to go to do the work.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Get up! This is your cousin.
314 day. Big party, right?
Well, yeah.
Turned
in my world, different kind of party.
Yeah, turned into
reason.
a big mess in the city.
I didn't even hear about that.
Yeah,
I was sheltered from it.
So let me give you the basics here in a second, and then 620. Let's talk about this a little bit, because the police, just like they did on the 4th of July when all that stupidity happened, they're like, where are the parents? And this got pretty ugly around the city. Different points here. All right. Russia getting a break from the U.S. as the administration deals with threats to the oil supply. This is an interesting development. And the brackets are announced, and 3 area teams are going dancing this month, including one of them going to start their dance right here in St. Louis. 6:06 right now. Let's go ahead and get started with the news dump here.
Successful dump. Wake up, America. It all worked out. They got all the news.
The morning news dump.
Okay, city police were busy over the weekend dealing with shootings, street takeovers, plural, and other large crowds during 314 day celebrations, because we celebrate phone area codes. At least 2 men suffered non-life-threatening injuries during a shootout near Locust Street. 3 other shootings are reported around the city. Near Broadway and Halls Ferry, a shots fired situation happened when hundreds of young people were blocking the street, one of multiple street takeovers and street blocking. Around the city, police used spikes to stop dozens of cars. A police spokesman tells KMOV that one constant factor was minors out with no parental supervision.
Go figure.
Yeah. If only somebody had warned people about that. Like, I don't know, everybody who's an adult in the area for the past, I don't know how many years.
Yeah, my 314 day celebration was just celebrating my daughter's birthday.
There you go.
It was actually yesterday, but
and no spike strips were involved or anything like that.
No,
okay.
Nothing of the sort.
Yeah.
It was actually quite lovely.
Good, very good. All right, as the war continues, now we're in day 16, I guess, of the war. Strikes continuing on the region. Senator Adam Schiff, Democrat out of California, on Meet the Press, and he's given his objections.
Already we've spent billions and billions of dollars, and more significant, we've lost 13 service members as a result of the war, and we still haven't heard a clear articulation of why we're at war. What was the imminent threat we were facing? They've said it was a nuclear threat, but the intelligence doesn't back that up.
Okay, and on Fox News Sunday, Congressman Michael McCall, Republican out of Texas.
The military objective here is being accomplished. In fact, they're ahead of schedule. They're demoralizing the Navy, the Air Force. They're getting rid of the sea mines in the straits. The drones are probably one of the top issues right now, and they're dealing with that to clear the straits out to have free access to energy going through that sector.
And we'll be talking to Congressman Bob Onder about all of this and a lot of other things at 7:35 as well.
Good.
Yep.
All I know is that if I hear Adam Schiff talking, I'm pretty much going to disagree with whatever he says.
Pretty much. It's funny. I noticed the typo on the news copy that I wrote, and Adam Schiff, Schiff. For some reason, it autocorrected to shill.
Oh.
To look at your news copy, I'm like, it says Adam Schill. I did not mean to do that. I'm
well,
like, what's AI telling us here? I'm just saying here. All right, United States is pausing sanctions on Russian oil shipments. Here's the story.
In a bid to stabilize global energy markets during the war against Iran, the Trump administration has announced a 30-day waiver on Russian oil sanctions. European leaders said now was not the time to relax sanctions against Moscow. And Ukrainian President Zelensky said the waiver was not the right decision and won't help bring a stop to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Greg Clugston, Washington.
That's an interesting development and, frankly, a little break for Russia right now.
it is. I think McCall addressed that yesterday on that, too. And he said, I don't like the idea of lifting sanctions on Russia, but I also, understand why it might be a decent strategy from a temporary standpoint. I think we have to see. I mean, no, it's not going to help Ukraine. Of course it's not.
No,
That's not the
no,
point
no,
of it.
no.
Yeah, I mean, I have reservations about it. I understand, I guess, theoretically the reason behind it, but I think that this is one of those things that they're going to have to get everything kind of straightened out pretty quickly, or else they're going to really start losing people's support.
Yeah, exactly. All right, well, now when it comes to gas prices today, according to AAA, as of a few minutes ago, national average price for a gallon of regular gas, $3.72.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. The average price in Missouri, $3.25, with prices around the region here generally a little bit higher, for between $3.47 to $3.50 here on the Missouri side of the metro area.
I was seeing $3.59 all over yesterday.
Yeah, that's that's what they're reporting right, literally as of a few minutes ago.
Well,
yeah.
I guess I shouldn't have filled up yesterday.
Yeah, in Illinois, the average price is $3.72, with prices in the Metro East around $3.75 for the most part.
Expensive.
Yeah. I'm still gonna grumble about my $50 fill up yesterday.
Yeah, rightly so.
Jeez. All right, FCC Chairman Brendan Carr threatening on social media this weekend to not renew the licenses of broadcasters that President Trump says is not giving fair coverage or giving coverage he likes regarding the war in Iran. Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson was on Fox's The Sunday Briefing. He's got some heartburn over the threat.
I would rather the federal government stay out of the private sector as much as possible. And really, the federal government's role is to protect our freedoms, protect our constitutional rights. I
think Senator Johnson's got a point there.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, are FCC rules being violated? If so, then that should be addressed. But if this is just about viewpoint and my preference, then, I mean, that sounds like that's how Brendan is presenting it. That's not the way to make your case.
Yeah, and see, that's the thing is when you look at his X post, his tweet, it is all about you're supposed to broadcast in the public interest, but when you read it, basically it means we don't like how you're covering this. I mean, are they biased and does anybody trust them anymore? Sure, yeah, absolutely.
Right, I mean, there may be some point to it, but that's not I don't think that's the way to attack it.
You do not want the government threatening your ability to do business because we don't like how media does things, even if they're biased and that's because there's going to be another Democratic administration that's going to load up the FCC. And I'm looking at this from our perspective. We look at things through a conservative lens here. Not everybody on conservative media, there's definitely activism and advocacy on here.
Sure.
So be careful what you wish for those yank their license, cancel them. Yeah, be really careful about that. First Amendment's more important. I think the current Supreme Court would smack the crap out of FCC yanking licenses from broadcasters just because the president doesn't like the coverage.
I mean, unless there's something I'm missing here, I agree.
You're not missing anything.
Hey, I'm always willing to allow for the possibility that I've got a blind spot or something. I don't know.
All right, parts of the city have a boil advisory in place. Just heads up, city's water division says a water main break, a large water main, like a 20-inch water main. That's a big one. That's one of the main ones. The water main break is to blame for the boil order, and it affects Lindenwood Park, Northampton, and St. Louis Hills neighborhoods. Basically, we're talking about South City. The advisory, just a precaution, likely going to expire later today unless a problem is detected by the water testing. They don't think that's going to happen, but just, again, to be extra careful on that. So, All right. I got to tell you, I was a little surprised by this. I did not think we were going to pull it off, but here's the last out of Team USA against the Dominican Republic.
Mason Miller's 8th pitch to Perdomo. It is on with the championship.
All right, so there it is. USA defeats Dominican Republic 2-1. Very controversial last call. There was a runner on third base, and that pitch looked low.
Oh.
Matter of fact, there were a number of complaints about the strike zone of the umpire, but here's the thing. The umpire called the same strike zone throughout the game.
So it wasn't one-sided.
It was, he called on both sides.
Okay.
But that third strike was a full count with a runner on third. That batter would have been the go-ahead run. So you can almost guarantee they're going to bring the robo umpires for the next World Baseball Classic, which I don't like at all. But it was quite a game, and USA, to my surprise, beat the Dominican Republic. I didn't think anybody was going to beat the Dominican Republic. So final score 2-1 in Miami. That is sound from Fox Sports 1. U.S. will play the winner of either Venezuela and Italy. They play tonight. The finals, then the championship is going to be on Tuesday evening. It'll be really cool if we could win.
Yeah.
The Baseball Classic. All right. Real quick, Tigers, Illini, and Billikens all in the NCAA tournament. We'll give you the details on where and when. Well, when they're playing at least. At 6:50.
You have a soul so dark, it is no more. And all at once depart, no destination. Making cold my heart to fight your war. Stop it right now. I have had enough of this. Turn my eyes.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
A cross between Socrates and Dirty Harry.
On News Talk STL.
Get up, in case you hear the alarm. Get up, this is your cousin car. Get up, what are you waiting for? Get up.
Craving seafood but worried it'll be too spicy or break the bank? La Juicy Seafood in O'Fallon has you covered. They're not your typical seafood joint. Choose from 5 spice levels, including not spicy, so everyone can enjoy our famous Cajun boils. Bring the family, doodle on the tables, enjoy the full bar with legendary margaritas, and feel right at home. La Juicy Seafood, 373 Winding Woods Drive, O'Fallon. Call 696-924-9171.
Are you a proud American? Then join us for the Lincoln Trump Dinner, March 20th at Old Hickory Golf Club in St. Peters, hosted by the St. Charles County Republican Central Committee. The evening features a VIP reception, dinner and program with live music by the Comparato Trio. Register online at stcharlesgop.com. Don't miss this celebration of America's 250th year, the Lincoln Trump Dinner. See you March 20th.
Hi, I'm Rodney Wallner.
And I'm Jen Wallner with the Wallner Home Selling Team at Berkshire Hathaway.
Hey, Jen, how do you sell your home for top dollar?
That's easy. Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
What if I want a flexible commission plan?
Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
What's the best time to sell your home?
Right now, call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
For all your real estate needs, call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
That's 314-810-SOLD.
Please come now, I think I'm falling, holding on to what I think is safe. It seems I found the road to nowhere, and I'm trying to escape. I get back when I heard thunder, but I'm down to one last breath. And will it let me say,
Hey, this is Carl Higbee, host of Frontline on Newsmax TV, and you're listening to Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
All right, 314 day. Just a reason to get stupid in the city, apparently.
Rah, rah, St. Louis.
Yeah. And then the thing is that there were a bunch of like community stuff, like legit, hey, yay St. Louis stuff.
Yeah, it's turning into kind of a fun.
And I'm sure there were plenty of gatherings that, it's just an excuse. I mean, why are we celebrating a area code? But whatever. There's a reason to say, hey, great community.
Like local pride.
Go
whatever.
us. Yeah, local pride stuff. And then once the sun went down, the kids came out and young adults came out, and they had problems all over the frickin' city.
Ugh.
It was just crazy. At one point, emergency responders were, let's just say, they were really busy. Here's Mitch McCoy, spokesman for the St. Louis Police. And let's try it again here. We're having some, Soros the Gremlin is back, I guess.
Yeah.
Let's try this again here. Let's see if this helps out. Here's Mitch McCoy from the St. Louis Police. Nothing? Dang it. Okay, well, something's gone wrong with our board here. All right, so basically, here's what's happened. The St. Louis City Police, multiple shootings, a bunch of street takeovers.
Okay.
Like several. And according to the police, most of these were going to be with minors.
Okay.
I mean, it's like at one point, though, not all minors. There was a shootout. 24-year-old and 27-year-old men both were hit. Both of them were going to survive.
I think I saw dash cam footage of
Yes, that was the one with the dash cam footage.
Okay.
Yeah, that was down by Locust downtown. And so they're still looking for one of the suspects in that case. By the way, the 27-year-old, according to the police, is a convicted felon who is barred from having a firearm. So he's
how'd that work?
Loading up a bunch of extra charges on him. Another response, another separate thing. There was a crowd gathered around, and then somebody had some shots fired. They said a 14-year-old girl was involved, but it doesn't say that she was actually hit or whether she pulled the trigger. We don't know. But a 14-year-old girl did something in this. That was near Broadway on Halls Ferry. Hundreds of people, they say, were basically taking over intersections throughout part of downtown and then a lot of kind of the South City, where they just would walk in, block everybody, and then cars would go crazy. And at one point, there was a young woman who was hanging out of one of the cars while they were being stupid and driving around doing the stupid stuff. And then the car crashed and she got thrown from it.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So she had, turns out, were fairly minor injuries, but that could have been really, really bad.
So lucky.
So at one point when they were, they were trying to get everybody dispersed, and of course there was a bunch of that garbage going on. A bunch of cars were trying to flee. Cops put out spike strips. Hit 50 cars. 200 tires got popped.
Wow.
By the police over the weekend, trying to control these crowds.
It's just nuts.
It's insane.
Like, if you're a parent and you find out your kid is involved in this.
Yeah. Well, okay, see, that brings you to the next thing, though. Mitch from the police department doing his press conference, and if Soros the Gremlin were not in our board right now, I'd be able to play it for you.
Dang it, George.
He says the one constant that they had through all of these, with all of the arrests, is there were no parents in sight. They said there were hundreds of minors involved. They said there were no parents around.
Well, I wouldn't expect them to necessarily be around while this was happening, but like if you found out after the fact that your kid wasn't participating in that, I'm like, I would be yanking my kid by the ear and like chaining her to her bed for the next, I don't even know how long. I mean, that's just nuts.
You would and I would, but it looks like there's an awful lot of parents around the area, especially in the city, who don't. I mean, I don't think hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of kids just were so stealthy and all snuck out together in one place. The parents either knew and don't care, or the parents just don't care what their kids are out doing anyway. And we've seen this in St. Louis. One point they were shooting off a bunch of fireworks, and this is, of course, 6-7 months after, 10 months after the 4th of July thing, where they really cracked down, on kids shooting fireworks out everywhere. And so, police are basically here going, we can keep arresting them. We can pop their tires. We can chase you down. But your idiot kids are still out there doing stupid stuff. And where are you?
Right.
Well, and the other fact of the matter is that so I follow several X groups that are devoted to documenting what goes on around St. Louis. There are cell phone videos of people. I don't know how old they are, but they had firearms visible with them approaching vehicles. In our state, you can legally return fire if you feel threatened in that condition. And if Lord forbid, if I had been in that situation, I don't know that somebody's kid would have made it home that night. If you're approaching my vehicle that late at night with a gun, your face is covered, I'm not taking any chances.
Right. Oh, hell no.
So it is almost, as much as I hate to say this, it is very fortunate for them that it seems these people that were being terrorized did not have firearms on them. Because under our current laws, they would have been within the legal rights
Castle doctrine,
to defend themselves.
Darwin Awards waiting to happen is what
Well,
that
exactly,
is.
yeah.
I mean, there were arrests.
Yes.
Are there going to be prosecutions? Is there going to be follow through?
That remains to be seen.
I mean, and I understand. Look, I was young once too. Yeah, we did wild stuff. We had parties and stuff like that. But there's a point where it crosses over. It's destructive. It's disturbing other people. It's harming other people. It's putting your lives in jeopardy. Yeah, you can't be doing that.
See, the funny part is when I was in high school and we were going to go do party stuff and we were going to do the wild stuff, we looked for places to hide.
Well, right. You don't want the cops being involved.
Right. We didn't want, it's like, I was in high school in Camp Point, Illinois, but most of my friends tended to be in Quincy. And we were like, okay, where do we go that we can go have the party, but where nobody will see us because we're worried about, somebody narking or somebody, calling it in.
You don't want to get in trouble.
No, you did not
You want to have fun.
Yeah. And so we got a whole different thing, in St. Louis. So at some point, now, first of all, this counters, the argument that City Hall keeps making and the police keep making. And, they keep saying, well, look, violent crime is on the way down. We're
Except
much
for on certain
safer.
days.
Yeah, exactly. And, of course, you also go back to the fact that they're getting called out for how they report crime. When you've got hundreds of people who basically feel we're untouchable.
Mm-hmm.
This is what you get. And then when the police go and crack down, is it a matter of time before somebody starts protesting against the police using tactics? I mean, who's going to say, who's paying for my kid's tire?
That would be you.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the kids are responsible for what they did. At some point, and the police have talked about this before in St. Louis City, when do you start issuing citations or charges to parents, or can you?
Well, I don't know. There's some different variables involved there. But yeah, you know what? I would think that's the perfect opportunity to suggest that your kid go get a job to pay for the tire that has to be replaced or tires.
Yeah, the reality is that there are many, many, many families in destabilized communities around St. Louis City. Parents aren't around. Dads aren't around. And you can say, well, the kids have never been taught right. Well, the kids are going to have to learn the hard way through their own consequences. So if you don't want the state to teach your kid, you don't want the police to teach your kid, you don't want the courts to teach your kid, then you teach your kid. And there's just a lot of people not doing that. And then they're going to complain about, young black men being persecuted by the court system.
Yeah, vicious cycle. And, to top it all off, then this is why no one wants to go downtown. Who wants to be in the middle of that?
Right.
Who wants to run the risk that you're just minding your own business trying to go to a Cardinals game or trying to do something
concert,
and it's nuts around you? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, this is why my daughter lives downtown. She actually doesn't live too far from where one of these things happened. And she lives in like a nice, expensive apartment.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been begging her for years, please get out of St. Louis. Find, the work that she does, she can get hired anywhere.
Yeah.
Please get out of St. Louis. Get out of the city.
Right.
Somewhere safer.
I don't know.
And she's starting to go, maybe I don't want to, as I'm, nearing her 30s, why, she's in the late 20s now. She's like, well, maybe this isn't.
It isn't as exciting as it
maybe
once was.
Maybe this isn't where I want to be as I look for the, next part of my life,
Now, I just want to point out as well that the official definition of child abuse includes the failure to act by a parent, caregiver, or other person in a custodial role, and furthermore, it says failure to provide necessary care, aka neglect. So at what point do we not sit here and say, if you're not going to keep an eye on your kids are clearly out there doing whatever the heck they want to do, and for some reason they think that this is what they want to do, you're not doing your job as a parent, so you get to face a child neglect or child abuse charge while we also put you in the same cell as your little rotten kids.
Yeah, well, and the problem too there is then you end up with kids in the system who are maybe put in foster care, maybe, and so it's like that's not necessarily
we don't have enough.
Better situation.
You keep the family together, and if there's an absent parent, then you find the parent, you put them in there. Then we reunite the family
in jail.
Family reunification in a jail cell.
Yes, and then we keep you off the streets until you determine that you are somebody that we should be allowing to run around and do whatever you want. Because clearly we have an issue where if we keep ignoring it like this, it just keeps getting worse year by year.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I really struggle to understand the mentality. Like I said, I understand kids wanting to go out and kind of be wild and crazy. I get that.
Yeah.
And I get cars being involved in that. I mean, grease.
I saw a few donuts in parking lots when I was in high school.
That's not new, but
I swear to God, I actually did not do any of them, but I saw plenty of them.
But the thing of it is, like, you got to know where the line is, and I don't understand. I don't know.
And even though somebody says, well, it's not these kids' fault, no one told them, they don't have a home. How do you not know that shootouts and street, taking over the streets and jumping on? How do you not know?
Yeah, that's pretty basic.
That's pretty basic. Like, essentially, you need about a IQ of 50 to figure that out.
Right.
And these aren't dumb kids. They're just kids that are basically being miscreants right now.
I will 100% maintain it is culture driven by a lot of the social media influence as well as a lot of the music that's popular now. One of the most popular genres, at least where I'm from, where we see a lot of the stuff happen all the time, is what's called drill or trap, and it's a form that people literally will murder their opponent, their opposition, whoever they hate, and then write a song about it to glorify it, and the music video is them toting guns and doing miscreant behavior. And so that is like one of the top genres among people that are like 14 to like 18 years old. And St. Louis is a very similar culture to Chicago, believe it or not, when it comes to that kind of stuff. So I can imagine that these people are growing up. They think this is awesome. They got nobody that's going to stick up and say, look, you can't be engaging in this behavior, because we also see a lot of, teachers are not able to really or have no inclination to discipline children.
Oh, well, the public school system's part of the problem.
Yeah.
The teachers union is part of the problem.
You have unsupervised youth that are glorifying a culture of violence and bad behavior and then being rewarded for it on social media.
Yeah. Oh, man. All right. Got some thoughts on that? Send it our way.
Yeah. You can also, if you want to leave a comment without giving us a phone call, you can follow us on our social media. We have NewsTalkSTL, Facebook, Rumble, YouTube, and X. And then there's also the Mike Ferguson in the Morning platforms on YouTube. Or you can reach out to AVP Mike Ferguson on X and tell us where we're wrong.
I think I'm falling, holding on the wall. I think you're safe. It seems I found the road to nowhere, and I'm trying to escape.
Mike Ferguson in the Morning.
Always be yourself, unless you suck.
On News Talk STL.
And will they let me say.
If you find yourself feeling out of place in the world, it's comforting to know conservative values haven't been abandoned everywhere.
The far left wants to destroy conservative values in America.
This is News Talk STL. Welcome home. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Winter hits back hard today with much colder temperatures, strong winds, even a couple of pockets of snow this morning. We're stuck in the 20s all day, high at 29. Wind chills in the single digits early, between 10 and 15 this afternoon. And those gusts out of the northwest, 40 to 45 miles per hour this morning, slowly coming down this afternoon. And yeah, some light snow from time to time. Minimal impact on the roads, but a slick spot or two possible. Skies clear tonight. It is frigid, down to 15 for the morning low, and a mostly sunny but chilly St. Patty's Day at 36. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
There's something magical about walking into your backyard and knowing your family is completely safe and secure. Hi, I'm Sean Long, owner of STL Fenceworks. That's the feeling my team and I have been creating for metro area families for more than 50 years. Whether you're adding your first fence or finally creating the outdoor sanctuary you've always wanted, we offer premium vinyl and stunning ornamental options, all designed around your family's specific needs and lifestyle. While other companies struggle with supply delays and rising costs, we've always proudly used all American-made materials, which means better pricing and faster installation for you. Our experienced craftsmen exemplify our motto, your satisfaction is our passion. From Warrenton to Wildwood, your neighbors trust us because we live here too. And we care about your project as much as you do. Right now is the golden time to build with flexible financing options and a commitment to completing your fence on time and on budget. Visit stlfenceworks.com.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense, science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on Newstalk STL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
Colombo and Company.
Join us every day for conversations with a wide variety of guests as we keep you informed and up to speed on all the important news and headlines you need to know.
Live and local weekdays at 2
on NewsTalkSTL.
Change will come.
Good morning, Missouri. It's your boy Joe Pags. I'll talk to you tonight at 10. But right now, let's get back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Because things in my life apparently need to get more bizarre.
Okay.
I had two just like really weird things. One of them being an update to my bat in my place.
It's batty.
It's very batty. I've got an update on that.
Okay.
So, yeah. And then I had this, when I was filling up my gas for, $50, I had an encounter with a crazy person.
Not you.
No, a different crazy person,
Okay.
not me. So this is happening, and while it's happening, I'm like, I think I got to tell the story on this.
Some people maybe get like a magnet right now.
I don't know. I'm talking to my mom on the phone, and yesterday I tell her about this, and she's like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, because my life is too normal." No. Not in the least bit. All right, 6:34 right now. Listen, don't get overwhelmed by the news. Stay on top of the news. Who's in control here? Stay on top of that with obviously interesting opinion pieces to go alongside, and you can do that at RedState.com. So, Susie, what is your team up to today?
This is the Red State Rundown.
Well, obviously, we are keeping up with all of the developments in the world. You can kind of follow along with what's going on in the news and what's, needs your attention. But there's some other articles that I want to bring to your attention as well. We've got a piece from Strife titled, "Up to 700 Iranian military and government officials may be living illegally in Canada, and no one cares."
Not Canada, no.
Yeah, that's something to think about in our neighbor to the north. Thanks, guys.
Well, it's not like they're next door to... Oh, wait.
Yeah. For Bob Hogue, we've got a piece titled, "Airline CEOs Join Forces in Letter Demanding Congress Get Their Act Together and End Schumer Shutdown." I mean, the forces, the powers are being brought to bear a little bit more. We're seeing a little bit more anxiety over this. I don't know if we're going to see movement on it or not.
Democrats seem pretty dug in. Their heels are dug in pretty hard on that.
We'll see. Last but not least, this is actually a story from a couple days ago, but I wanted to highlight it because it might get you a chuckle, and God knows we could all use a laugh, right? It's by a writer named Susie Moore.
Oh, I know her.
It's titled, "Ninth Circuit Judge Comes Out Swinging in Spicy Dissent Over Women-Only Nude Spa." And the title kind of alludes to what I'm talking about, but you kind of want to read this because if ever there was a dissent you wanted to kind of read, yeah, this one's it.
Not in front of your kids.
Not out loud, not in front of your kids.
I mean, could we read the whole dissent on the air here? Probably not.
I think we could legally. I don't know.
Would I want to read it and then have the conversation with our boss after the show?
No.
Yeah.
I don't think he would want us to. But you want to read this article, so just go look it up under my author tab. You will find it there, and it might give you a chuckle for the morning.
Yes. Yeah, you told me about this a couple days ago. Jeez. All right. Okay, guess who's bat? Bat again.
Mm-hmm. Batty McBatterson.
I'm just minding my own business, watching the game on Saturday, and we heard about all the drama about the bat that got into my spare room, and then it just disappeared. I went in there, and so animal control, they were telling me that probably climbed up into the air vent and was probably in the HVAC. So Thursday, nothing. Friday, nothing. Saturday, most of the day, nothing. I'm sitting there Saturday afternoon. I'm watching some basketball, watching one of the conference tournament champion. I don't even remember which game it was. I was just watching basketball. And all of a sudden I look over and there he is flying around my living room.
He came out for 314 day.
It did. Flying around, dives into the kitchen. I go there. He's on the floor, kind of yells at me. It starts flying around again. I'm like, all right. So I close all the doors so he can't get back into those hiding places. And, go ahead and call the animal control. Well, it turns out the same officer I talked to on the phone was on duty again. And she's like, "Oh, I remember you. I'm on the way over." And literally within like 10 minutes, she calls me back. She goes, "I'm here." Okay. So let her in. She brings in the big net. and so I said, okay, unless it flew somewhere else by the time I went to let you in, that's where it was. And we knocked on everything, and we're trying to shake up everything to spook this thing out, and nothing. it's hiding again.
course.
It's hiding again.
Of
but
course.
I took video of it flying around the room. I sent that to you guys, and so I'm like, I'm not like hallucinating. And she
No.
looks at it. She goes, no, we believe you. You know, it's not like you're the only one who's ever had a bat in a residence kind of call. So it's gone and hidden again. And to this morning, I don't know where it is again. So it's in hiding again.
Did she give you any pointers about how you could trap it?
Yes. So, and it was funny because she handed me a great big Quick Trip cup. And I'm like, oh, the county's really supplying you well, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so basically she says, listen, if we catch this thing at this point, they're going to have to send it off for testing. There's no evidence that it's rabbit or anything like that. Because I was going to try to like be gentle because bats are good. You want them around. They eat mosquitoes and all that kind of stuff. And at this point, the bats' days are numbered. So essentially,
Maybe that's why it's hiding.
right. And so at this point, it's like basically, I've got a broom. Just take a baseball swing at it and knock it down and you know, put it in the thing. She goes, call us, and she goes, we'll send it in for testing. Or, you know, you can bag it up there. Or my other plan is I've got that big sliding window there in that main room. I can try to like open that up and if it's flying
Encourage
around
it
to
to
get
go.
and try
Fly,
to
be free.
right at that point, and then it becomes somebody else's problem. But
Right.
I'm still sharing a dwelling with a bat.
Just charge it rent.
I should.
Yeah.
I'm joking with the you know, some of the folks around. I'm like, and you know, I don't have any of the pet stuff and that kind of stuff. But actually, what I'm worried about now at this point is like, is this thing gonna like make messes everywhere, and I got to worry about all that crap?
Yeah.
So far, I haven't found a single one, which means
Right.
it's probably up in the air vent. Is what I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's not even the weirdest thing that happened. So yesterday,
But wait, there's more.
There's more to. There was more to my. Okay, so yesterday I'm filling up my car with gas. And I'm just kind of watching the numbers continue to go up.
Expensive gas.
And I'm just over. I'm actually not far from the radio station here, so I'm over on Dorset. And a woman slowly drives around and pulls up. Okay, so I'm going to give you a description of her. It's all relevant to the story, so don't get mad at me. It's relevant to the story.
Okay.
A very large woman, which I will tell you will be relevant to the story, wearing Trump stuff, hat, T-shirt, everything. Trump, MAGA, Make America Great Again, 2024, you know, that sort of stuff. That is relevant to the story here in a second. Now, and by the way, this is not about Trump. This is not about MAGA. This is not about the policies. This is about just what happened here. So I'm not reading into it for those of you who are MAGA. I'm just telling you the story. So don't get mad, because there's some people who, you know, whenever you say MAGA or Trump and the story isn't favorable, they get mad at you thinking that you're attacking Trump or you're attacking their tribe. There's a lot of people out there who can't differentiate. They can't kind of think critically like that. And they can't separate out those. There's a lot of people, a few people around here can't do that, but there's a lot of people out there who can't do that as well. So this isn't one of those stories.
So clearly she was on her way to a soccer game, right?
So she pulls up, she goes, "Can you do me a favor?" And I'm like, "Okay, what's that?" She goes, "Do you have any cash? I need some cash because I need to get some food." I'm like, "No, I don't." She goes, "No, I really need some food." I'm like, I get approached all the time at gas stations. Leave me alone. Go away. You know,
Right.
I'm not engaging.
No
I've,
sale.
I've been approached at way too many gas stations. And when she said, "No, leave me alone. Go." And then she points very slowly to her hat. Says Trump. She goes, "You see this? I'm a federal agent, and you're getting yourself in trouble."
Oh, okay.
Now, again, I'm talking about the crazy person. I'm not saying this is reflective of anybody else.
Of course it's not. No.
Okay, this is just what happened. And at this point, I went full mic. I'm like, "Get the F out of here. Go. You know, you effing idiot." You know, and she's like, "You're about to find out. I'm a federal agent." I'm like, "Get your fat effing ass out of here." You know, and I'm like, "Jeez." I mean, because first of all, she wasn't in need of food. She ain't starving.
Problem number one.
Yeah, but the whole thing was funny with the minivan looked like it was fairly new and nice, and so, but it was the way she like slowly pointed at the Trump hat.
Yeah.
You see this?
I'm federalized.
Yes. Do you see this? I am a federal agent, and you just got yourself in trouble. And I'm like, "Oh, you idiot."
I've been deputized.
Kristi Noem's really falling on some hard times.
Oh, now we know that wasn't her because she is not a heavy set woman.
Kristi Noem would have had a very different reception from me.
Yeah.
Just saying. I'm like, there was nobody in the van. I don't see Corey.
Yeah.
So how'd you get out of the situation?
She just drove off cussing me out and whatnot. And so I just went back to watching the numbers still going up on the gas pump. But then I looked over and she just drove into the other gas station around the street, was slowly driving around the pumps.
She was looking for
just
a mark.
looking for anybody who would, give her money because she's a federal agent with her Trump MAGA hat and T-shirt.
Of all the ways we could deconstruct that.
Oh my gosh!
But they're not paying. They're not paying you well. Or I know it's because of the shutdown, right?
Because of the shutdown, exactly.
You're one of those FEMA people.
Oh man, yeah. The thing is, I don't know how many times I have been approached at gas stations with people just bluntly asking for cash. And I've had sob stories like, I'm trying to go see my daughter in this city. Can you help me with some gas money? And I'm like, listen, they all have like sob stories. Whenever I would go back and forth between Columbia and here or Kansas City and here, there's a gas station right there before you get to Columbia. And I forget what kind it is, but every time I would go there, I would have somebody come up and they would send a young woman up saying, I'm trying to get to visit my family here. And a couple times it was the same one. At one point, I'm like, you already tried this with me about a month ago. So I have learned to not even be nice to these people.
Yeah.
We have a rare Camellia spotting.
Hey,
Good morning, Camellia.
yeah.
She wants to know, for the record, did you find out, though?
I did not find out. I have not found out. So if the weight of the federal agent is going to come down on me, it has not happened yet.
Maybe that's why we're having problems with the
That's
system.
what it is.
That's what it is.
Oh my!
You found out, you just didn't know.
Yeah, apparently not yet. Oh my goodness! I'm seriously like, why do these things happen? I guess other than it gives me something to share on the radio, and I would have told the exact same story if they were wearing Kamala stuff or whatever.
We've established you're a bat magnet.
Apparently, I am bat and batty people.
Sorry about that. I'm getting all choked up over it. I'm also choked up over this. The Tigers, the Illini, and the Billikens, they're all in the big dance. And Team USA is going to the championship. We're going to tell you about that in the news dump at 6:50.
And these thoughts I have, I now can claim.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
My opinion is it's weird.
On NewsTalk STL.
Kathy Connor from Connor Roofing is here. Kathy, how you doing?
Good. Hi, Vic.
When you need a roof, I don't want to call a stranger. I want to call you.
Yeah, thanks. At Connor Roofing, we're more than just a roofing company.
How long you been doing it?
Since 1993.
And year after year, storm after storm, you guys are always there.
Because this is our home, too, Vic. Our kids go to school with your kids. We cheer for the same teams. Go Blues!
So support your neighbors. Call Connor Roofing at 314-375-7475 or CONNER roofing.com.
Thanks, Vic.
Craving the freshest in town? Anthony's Produce is your daily destination for nature's finest. Browse our rainbow of quality fruits and vegetables. Always fresh, always delicious. Hosting an event? Let us create stunning fruit bouquets and fruit or vegetable trays. We proudly stock hundreds of locally made products, seasoned firewood for pickup or delivery, and year-round chocolate-covered strawberries. Open 7 days a week, 7 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. Monday through Saturday, and 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Sundays. 701 Juggerman Road or anthonysproduce.com.
1949, the last time a Republican held the top post in St. Louis City. A gallon of milk was 84 cents, and streetcars ran down Grand Avenue. Unfortunately, St. Louis City streets are no longer the epicenter of family and business life. In the 80 years of Democrat control, our city has been on a steady decline.
Hello, Kirk Ilsinger, chairman of the Republican Party for the city of St. Louis, and we believe it is our duty to provide a different path forward. I invite you to our meetings the first Thursday of every month. Learn more at stl-gop.com.
Paid for by St. Louis City Republican PAC. Curtis Farber, Treasurer.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Good morning, St. Louis. Hey, it's Vince from The Vince Show right here on News Talk STL every weeknight at 8. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
All right, 314 Day turns stupid in the city.
Yeah.
And you boiled it down brilliantly, Susie, when it was like, this is why nobody wants to go downtown, especially at night.
No.
Yeah.
I worked in downtown for 30 years. I love downtown St. Louis. I love St. Louis, and I don't want to be there.
No, I don't go there unless I absolutely have to, and I'll only go during the daytime. And if I've got a purpose and I'm get in, get out.
Yeah.
I won't even do concerts downtown anymore. And I'll go to Cardinals games if they're in the daytime. I mean, I'll go do the noon game, but I won't do a night one. It's just ridiculous to risk it at this point. All right, Russia gets a break from the U.S. as the administration deals with threats to the oil supply. Brackets are announced, as Susie was just saying. 3 area teams going dancing this month. 6:49 right now. Let's do a little news dump, shall we?
The Morning News Dump.
Are you joking? Is this a joke?
Listen, folks. The Morning News Dump.
City police were busy over the weekend dealing with shootings, with street takeovers, other large crowds during 314 Day celebrations. Let's call these the unofficial celebrations, shall we? At least 2 men suffered non-life-threatening injuries during a shootout near Locust Street. 3 other shootings are reported around the city, one near Broadway and Halls Ferry, where shots were fired. A situation happened there. Hundreds of young people were blocking the street. Around the city, police used spikes to stop dozens of cars. A police spokesman tells KMOV that one constant factor was minors out with no parental supervision.
Yeah, apparently.
Imagine that.
Well, okay, so here's my initial reaction to that is, well, yeah. I mean, it's a Saturday night in the spring. We were out without our parental supervision as minors, too. I mean, like, that's the whole point of being a teenager, right? You're not, you don't expect to have mom and dad there with you. Okay, That's not the part of it. That's the issue. The issue is apparently they're desperately in need of parental supervision just in general and some major guidance. And that's, I guess, lacking. I don't know.
All right. I want to let people have some thoughts on this. Let me bring this back here in just a little bit.
Sure.
So let's do that. United States is pausing sanctions on Russian oil shipments. I did not see this one coming. Here's the story.
In a bid to stabilize global energy markets during the war against Iran, the Trump administration has announced a 30-day waiver on Russian oil sanctions. European leaders said now was not the time to relax sanctions against Moscow. And Ukrainian President Zelensky said the waiver was not the right decision and won't help bring a stop to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Greg Clugston, Washington.
I mean, so basically Russia, gets an influx of money. They get to sell oil now for at least 30 days. So we're punishing you. You're in timeout because you're attacking, Ukraine and all of that. But we're going to pause it for a little bit. But then we got to go back to timeout.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, basically.
Big break for Russia.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what that amounts to overall money-wise, but I know that right now that they're trying to, the primary focus is trying to ease up the pressure on the oil supply.
Yeah.
There was a energy watchdog group that calculated that as of last week, Russia's brought in about $7 billion in oil sales because people are going to them for their oil right now. So I can't imagine that being good long term for the Ukraine conflict.
Oh yeah.
Well, no, and I don't think the intention is for it to be long term. But even so, it's a break.
It's a big boost to Russia right now. All right. Speaking of gas prices, according to AAA, as of this morning, they're reporting the national average price for a gallon of gas around the country, $3.72. The average price in Missouri, $3.25. Prices in the metro region on the Missouri side, a little bit higher, $3.47 to $3.50 generally as of, like I said, as of about 5:30 this morning. In Illinois, the average price is $3.72 with prices in the metro east around $3.75.
Expensive.
Yeah, and probably gonna go up for a little bit longer as well. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised at that. Okay, so this past week, South Carolina Senator Tim Scott releasing new legislation to prevent learning loss. This is what he's calling it. So he was on Sunday Night in America with Trey Gowdy to explain that the bill was based on the shortfalls of remote learning during the whole COVID-19 era and scare tactics.
Remember COVID, where every single child lost ground education? Why? Because they weren't in the classroom. We need to get them back in the classroom. Giving the parents the resources is the fastest path to a better education.
So under the bill, it would require schools that receive federal funding to compensate parents if the school fails to offer in-person instruction for more than 3 days. Parents then could use the money for approved educational expenses.
Okay, well, I don't know how I feel about that.
I think it's probably more of a stick hanging over the public schools that,
Well, I feel like it's about 4 years too late.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt.
So I mean, it's like it's forward looking. Obviously, it's not
Yeah.
retroactive. Do we have situations where schools are having kids remote learn for more than a couple days at a time, like weather?
Today?
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be weather, but yeah, I mean, other than weather, I haven't heard of him doing it now.
I mean, I feel like this is one of those. I get it's a well-intentioned thing, but is it really serving purpose?
Yeah,
like,
unless just setting the standard for the next time that the world decides to go crazy over the cold.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll see. This is interesting. FCC Chairman Brendan Carr threatening on social media to not renew the licenses of broadcasters that President Trump is accusing of not giving fair coverage of the fighting in Iran. Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson, a Republican, was on Fox's The Sunday Briefing. He's not on board with what Brendan Carr was saying here.
I would rather the federal government stay out of the private sector as much as possible. And really, the federal government's role is to protect our freedoms, protect our constitutional rights.
Okay, so here's what Brendan Carr posted. He said, broadcasters that are running hoaxes and news distortions, also known as fake news, have a chance now to correct course before their license renewals come up. The law is clear as broadcasters must operate in the public interest, and they will lose their licenses if they do not. And frankly, changing courses is in their own business interest since trust in legacy media has now fallen to an all-time low of just 9% and our ratings disasters. That's just part of it. I'm like, you can see the rest of it. I'm not wild about this approach here.
No, I'm not either.
Not that I like the mainstream media. I mean, the critique of them being biased in fake news is true. In many, many, many cases, but you don't want a government that says, give me favorable coverage or else.
No, I mean, I there are obviously restrictions that the FCC can. There are consequences for violating various provisions, but is that what's going on here?
Yeah, I mean, they're just arguing you're giving unfair coverage, therefore we don't like your coverage, so therefore we're going to yank your license.
He's
if
not
you don't.
doing himself or the administration any favors by approaching it that way.
No, not in the least.
I mean, there might be like a kernel of a point underneath what he's saying, but the way he's presenting it doesn't make the case.
Oh, his critique of the media is that's pretty much
but I mean, like
there
might even be some violations hidden in there somewhere. I don't know, but he's not making a persuasive case for it.
Yeah, this is not what you want to empower government to do.
No,
you do not want that. Even though it's like their side that's getting targeted right now, because we're one election away from that being used on our side. That's what you want to be careful of. All right, parts of the city have a boil advisory in place. Just heads up, City Water Division says a water main break is to blame for the boil order affecting the Lindenwood Park, Northampton, and St. Louis Hills neighborhoods, so South City basically. The advisory is just a precaution, likely going to expire later today unless they find some problems with the water, which they frankly don't anticipate. But if something happens, we'll keep you updated on that. Okay. I did not expect this outcome to happen in the game. Team USA against Dominican Republic in the semifinal matchup of the World Baseball Classic late last night. U.S. led the Dominican Republic 2-1 with 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th inning. San Diego Padres relief pitcher Mason Miller was up against Arizona Diamondbacks shortstop Gerardo Geraldo Perdomo. I think I got that right. Last out of the game, last pitch of the game.
Mason Miller's 8th pitch to Perdomo. It is over the championship.
All right, that is from the Fox Sports 1 broadcast here. So the U.S. is going to play the winner of Venezuela and Italy. They will play tonight. A lot of controversy. That pitch looked low. But the umpire had been calling there the whole game. There was a lot of complaints about the strike zone.
As long as it wasn't just that one.
Right. It was not just that one there, but a lot of, Venezuela, or I'm sorry, Dominican Republic, who honestly, I didn't think the U.S. was going to beat.
No.
I mean, the 2 best teams of the tournament, 2 of the 3 best teams played in that game, and I was actually surprised that the U.S. won. Let's see here. Tigers, Illini, Billikens all dancing this month. Illinois, 3rd seed in the NCAA South Regional. They're going to play Pennsylvania on Thursday. SLU, seeded 9th in the Midwest Regional. They're going to play Georgia on Thursday. Tigers are the 10th seed in the West Regional. They play Miami of Florida on Friday, and that game happens at the Enterprise Center in St. Louis.
Hey, folks, Jamie Allman here for Newsteader's Fine Jewelry right there at Doherty Ferry and Big Bend. WowDiamonds.com. It's Wow Diamonds for a reason. These are beautiful lab-grown diamonds. They are gorgeous. They will blind you when you walk in and see them, but that's a good thing. Great engagement sets, wedding sets, all these beautiful God-created gems, sapphires, rubies, you name it, garnets, and also all the gold you need, and the famous bull of a watch, WowDiamonds.com.
Ever feel like just a number in a waiting room? Hi, I'm Shannon Tribune, Director of Operations with Body of Health Direct Primary Care. Navigating the medical system can be a maze of stress. I'm your personal guide at Body of Health. I handle the messy parts of medical care, the logistics and complex coordination, both in and outside our walls, so you and Dr. Tobler, that's my dad, can focus on what matters most, your health. At Body of Health, you're not just a patient, you're part of the family, because that's healthcare the way it ought to be. To learn more, schedule a discovery call at bodyofhealth.com.
The Vic Borselli Show.
NPR, guess what? Got defunded, and they're going to close down operations. If they're not going to get federal funding, well, then guess what? There are plenty of radio salespeople out there in the United States who can sell time, big time. You know why they don't sell hire sales team? Because nobody will buy advertising because they suck so bad.
Oh my God!
You don't see people.
You're so correct. That's it right there.
Vic Borselli,
Live and local weekday mornings at 9.
on News Talk STL.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green.
This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at
NewsTalkSTL.com.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Greg Clugston in Washington. A weekend of wild winter weather is spilling over into the start of the week. National Weather Service forecaster Mark Chenard says winter is sticking around for some.
There will be a shot of cold air across much of the eastern half of the country for the next few days.
The upper Midwest is getting snow, lots of it, from central Wisconsin to Michigan's upper peninsula. In Hawaii, they're dealing with heavy rain, flooding, and strong winds. Here's Maui Mayor Richard Bisson.
We're seeing widespread impacts to roadways and infrastructure across Maui County. County teams are working around the clock with MEMA, the National Weather Service, and our state and community partners to respond to storm impacts and emergency situations.
High winds, rain, and possible tornadoes in the forecast today for the mid-Atlantic states and Washington, D.C. President Trump is upping the pressure on China.
President Donald Trump says he may delay his anticipated trip to China as he pressures Beijing to help reopen the Strait of Hormuz to ease soaring oil prices. Trump told the Financial Times on Sunday that China benefits from the strait and should help keep it open. Aboard Air Force One, Trump told reporters,
"Why are we maintaining the Hormuz Strait when it's really there for China and many other countries? Why aren't they doing it?"
Iran has nearly shut down the waterway. Trump says the U.S. has talked with about 7 nations seeking assistance to help keep it open. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
About 3,800 workers at one of the nation's largest meat packing plants set to strike in Colorado this morning. Union representatives say it will be the first strike at a U.S. beef slaughterhouse since the 1980s. A check on Wall Street, stock futures are higher. Townhall.com.
The following is a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
I had a lot of credit card debt, and it stressed me out. But what I thought was a solution turned out to be a problem. I kept hearing ads about debt settlement that seemed too good to be true. And actually, it was. When I called, they told me to stop paying my bills. That didn't sound right to me at all, so I hung up. Later, I found out that debt settlement is bad, real bad. Then I learned that there is a right way to pay off your credit cards. It's called a debt management program from the great team at Trinity. Trinity had a plan. In the end, I paid off my bills, I saved thousands, and I even improved my credit score.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976.
My name is Heather. Please forget debt settlement and remember Trinity Debt Management.
1-800-990-6976.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Winter hits back hard today with much colder temperatures, strong winds, even a couple of pockets of snow this morning. We're stuck in the 20s all day, high at 29. Wind chills in the single digits early, between 10 and 15 this afternoon. And those gusts out of the northwest, 40 to 45 miles per hour this morning, slowly coming down this afternoon. And yeah, some light snow from time to time. Minimal impact on the roads, but a slick spot or two possible. Skies clear tonight. It is frigid, down to 15 for the morning low, and a mostly sunny but chilly St. Patty's Day at 36. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD.
It's more than a rebellion. When your teen is slipping into drugs or alcohol, when social media and pornography consume their time and their mind, when depression and even suicidal thoughts cast a shadow over your home, as a parent, you feel powerless. There is hope. At Turnabout Ranch, troubled teens step away from the chaos and into a clarity of nature on a working cattle ranch. Care for horses, learn responsibility, build trust, and rediscover purpose. It isn't theory, it's real work. Real therapy, real healing. Families from across the country have found transformation right here, just when they thought hope was gone. If your teen is struggling with addiction, harmful online behaviors, even weight management, call right now and get the help you all need.
800-219-2494. 800-219-2494. 800-219-2494. That's 800-219-2494.
Mike Ferguson.
I don't know how to put this, but I'm kind of a big deal.
Susie Moore.
They look very aggressive. I think they want to beat me up.
Get up, St. Louis.
So it's time to get out of bed. Pour yourself the greatest cup of Kofifi the world has ever seen. Rise up with one voice, drain the swamp, and take back our country. Today's the day we're going to do it, and it's time to do it right now, believe me.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
A little bit of a news flash here. Some politicians and their media puppets look for ways to soft pedal, even justify Islamic terrorism in the U.S.
Yeah.
I know. I know you're adjusting to that news.
Mm-hmm.
And you wonder what on earth could be the motivation behind that. I mean, if there's one thing that we should all be able to agree on, if there's one thing, Islamic terrorism is bad.
Yes, we
You
should
would
be able
think.
to.
Right, man. But we're getting more and more information on the recent. We've had, at least 3 noted attacks. We've had one in Michigan. We've obviously had one in New York City. We've had the Old Dominion University shooting.
Mm-hmm.
And these aren't new. They just came in a cluster.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's one thing for media to try to soft pedal with their wokeness and all that sort of thing. But how about the politicians? RedState.com. Dearborn Heights mayor makes insane statement on Michigan synagogue attacker, leaves inconvenient details out. And that was written by Stacey Matthews, who you would know as Sister Told Ya, who joins us right now. And Stacey, let's kind of start with the premise on this, is that there is a rush to soft pedal. And this is nothing new. I remember after 9/11, there were some of the most left-wing politicians rushing before the rubble had even finished with a cloud of dust and saying, listen, we need to be careful, not blame any one group or religion on this, because they knew what had happened. We'd all known what happened. And we're seeing this here in Dearborn, Michigan. The mayor runs out and says what?
Dearborn Heights Mayor Mo Bowden, I hope I pronounced that correctly. He did what I call a case study in the whataboutism sickness that plagues the Democrat Party when the attacks that don't fit their preferred narratives happen. And this attack obviously didn't fit their preferred narrative. You have a perpetrator who was Lebanese descent. He was a naturalized American citizen, and he was of Lebanese descent. And one of the first things out of the mouth of Mayor Mo Bowden was to say that the perpetrator lost several members of his own family, including his niece and nephew, in an Israeli attack on their home in Lebanon. And what he left out, and I'm not going to give him the benefit of the doubt that he didn't know. I'm just not going to give these people the benefit of the doubt. Was that at least one member of the family that was killed was a commander for Hezbollah. And the IDF confirmed that this weekend. There were reports last week. There were some news outlets were reporting. I think the Times was reporting that nothing about the fact that the family was Hezbollah, and then another news outlet, ABC News, said that there were members of the family who were Hezbollah.
Hey, Stacey, I'm going to jump in real quick. We've got a really rough phone connection with you. Can we put you? Can we have Jerome reconnect with you in just a second? Because what you're saying is really too important to have people miss it with a bad phone connection. Let's do that real quick so we make sure we can get her on and try that phone connection once again here. But what she was just talking about is, the mayor who said, this man basically trying to soft pedal it and say, well, understand he's a victim. Because, he had family members killed by Israeli strikes. And then, as Stacey was just saying, well, it turns out one of his relatives was a commander for a terrorist organization.
Right. It wasn't just randomly that they happened to be. There was this seeming, if you just look at the statement on paper, on face value, it doesn't jump out egregiously, but without saying it, it's like he's trying to justify what this guy did.
Okay, so let's pick that back up with Stacey. Thank you so much, Stacey. I apologize for the problem there. But yeah,
I apologize too, guys. Thank you.
Now we can hear you. Okay,
there she is.
So let's just recap real quick. The mayor comes out and basically kind of trying to generate a little, but you got to understand kind of sympathy for the guy who tried to kill hundreds of people at a synagogue.
Right. It was Dearborn Heights Mayor Mo Baydon, and he said one of the first things out of his mouth was that there were members of the perpetrator's family who were killed in an Israeli strike on their home in Lebanon. And what he left out, and again, I said this earlier, you may not have heard it, but I'm not giving these people the benefit of the doubt that they don't know what they're talking about here, because basically what it was, the strike was on Hezbollah targets. And there was at least one member of the family who was a commander for Hezbollah. And the IDF confirmed that they killed him over the weekend. They confirmed, yes, he was a member of Hezbollah, one of the people that they killed in the strike. And, and unfortunately, if others were killed, innocent people were killed, that's unfortunate, obviously, but the target was not the innocent people. The target was the Hezbollah commander. And Israel obviously has a strong beef with Hezbollah, and they want to eliminate Hezbollah, and they understandably are targeting people, especially people in positions of power, like a commander.
Right.
So what the mayor left out was the fact that one of the family members was a member of Hezbollah. Now, of course, the only thing he put in there was their niece and nephew, which makes you feel more sympathetic. For some people would feel more sympathetic towards the attacker. That was the whole goal with the statement. Mm-hmm. And it's not that far off from how Mayor Mamdani reacted to the attempted terror attack at Gracie Mansion, which was an attack waged on the people who were there protesting against Mamdani. Now, one of the first things Mamdani said was to start talking about Islamophobia.
Yeah. Stacey, so the thing that bothered me, I think, the most about this statement from the mayor there is, it'd be one thing if he was saying, in the context of motivation, we're still trying to determine what happened here, but we suspect this may have played a role in this man's motivation. Mm-hmm. But that's not how he's even couching it. It's more like, yeah, he did this terrible thing, and, that could have been disastrous, could have been horrific in terms of the damage it could have inflicted. But, he kind of maybe had a little bit of a justification. That's when you read between the lines there, is kind of what this mayor seems to be saying.
Right. And he also, in his same statement, Susie, he said, he mentioned Ramadan, that he's worried about what's going to happen to people during Ramadan. So what? This was an attack on Jewish people, not an attack on Islamic people. But he did the whole whataboutism thing. He said, we must stand against hate no matter what forms. And we need to take special care during the sacred final days of Ramadan. This is classic Democrat. Like I said, when the perpetrators don't fit their preferred narrative, immediately it becomes about whataboutism.
Yeah.
When it does fit their preferred narrative, then it's all about white supremacy or far right terrorism or whatever. That it's classic. They do this every single time. But the problem is that these things are starting to happen more and more. As Mike mentioned before I came on, we've had 4 attacks in 2 weeks, and people have died. And these innocent people have been murdered by Islamic-inspired terrorists who have either been nationalized here or were American citizens here. So, for these guys to play what out, it's a very dangerous game. It comes in the context of Democrats continuing to refuse to refund DHS as the threats to our homeland increase. And that's a pretty big deal.
We're visiting with Stacey Matthews, otherwise known as Sister Told Ya, on RedState.com. And, I get that the fringe left, the keffiyeh wearing, sort of, free Palestine, blame the Jews for everything. So I guess you could say the Tucker Carlson camp and Candace Owens camp, in addition to the fringe left there. But outside of there, I've got to think that there are people throughout the middle and even those on the left who have got to cringe when they hear this and they see this, because common sense says that's just not true. That is bigotry under the guise of trying to, fight bigotry. I mean, I don't know how any thinking person would not see exactly through what that mayor is saying.
Well, and you have to think too. I mean, what we're learning about the perpetrators, not just the one in Michigan, Mike, but the ones in New York City, the ones that threw the IEDs near Gracie Mansion. According to the DOJ, one of them said that the goal of the two was a mass casualty event where they were eclipsed the Boston bomber. Remember the Boston bomber incident from 2013 that killed 3 people and they injured like 500. They actually wanted more carnage than the Boston bomber attack, and they said, and they were doing it in the name of Allah. And that they were not going to put up with people insulting the prophet's name. So, we need to be real about what's going on here. This stuff has come to, and these aren't the first attacks we've had here. We remember the one from New Orleans. I believe it was in 2025, the beginning of 2025, I think, where the man drove his vehicle into the crowd in New Orleans. These things are happening with more frequency, and it's time that we confront it for what it is. And we need to have some hard conversations, regardless of how Democrats are reacting to these attacks.
Stacey, wouldn't you agree that one of the things that's key to that, having those meaningful conversations, is a media that actually is reporting on things factually instead of spinning it like, say, CNN went out of its way to do last week?
Yeah, that's just crazy. And this Susie is related to the Gracie Mansion attack again, and we wrote about it extensively at RedState, where the media was basically CNN in particular basically presented the 2 perpetrators who were adult teenagers. I think one was 18 and one was 19. They were presenting them as just 2 people that were just going across the border from Pennsylvania to New York just to have a good spring day or whatever, and then you had at least 2 or 3 of their reporters proclaim definitively that these attacks were attempted attacks on Mayor Mamdani. Full stop.
Mm-hmm.
They said that, and then you had them have to do these quick backtracks. We've had like 5 backtracks from CNN alone on their reporting on the Gracie Mansion attack, and I have to think, maybe 1 could be understandable, but 5, that's a problem. Definitely. And it's not just a problem with the on-air staff; it's a problem with staffers behind the scene, the producers, and those types of people, the people that write the transcripts and whatnot. This is a much bigger problem than just the anchors on air.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time working in television and television news. This is a producer's massively, just as much as the reporters. You're absolutely right. All right, Stacey Matthews, otherwise known as Sister Told Ya, RedState.com. Thanks so much for the insight. We'll talk to you again soon, Stacey.
Thanks, guys. Stay safe.
Thanks, Stacey. All right. Now there's partying, and then there's stupid in the streets. Guess which one hundreds of kids and some adults decided to do over the weekend in the city? Let's talk about that at 7:20.
Don't try to make me stop, no inspiration. You have a soul so dark, it is no more. And all at once depart, no destination. making cold my heart to fight your war. Stop it right now. I have had enough of this.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
I like it, but they're going a little overboard with the dancing.
On News Talk STL. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Did Donald Trump and Republicans make everything great again over the weekend? We'll discuss with Senator Jim Talent at 4:25. At 5:25, Red State Headlines with Susie Moore.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL.
Hey, Tony Colombo here, inviting you out for a great night of fun and rock and roll with the Queen Tribute Somebody to Love, Friday, March 20th at the Mill in Granite City. My band, Tony Colombo and the North County Sound Machine, featuring Katie Fitzpatrick, opens the show, followed by the ultimate Queen experience from Somebody to Love. That's Friday, March 20th at the Mill, Granite City's premier concert and event venue, brought to you by Weber Chevrolet. Support local music and join us for a great party. Tickets and info now at themill.events.
Mike Ferguson here. Retirement should be a time you can relax. No more stress from work. But there's one thing you can't forget about when retiring. That's your money. Do you have enough saved to fund your income for life and keep up with inflation? How will you claim your Social Security benefits? And what about long-term care? The ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel is here to help answer all of these questions. You can hear their latest views on the markets and investing during On the Money, hosted by Stifel financial advisors Bob Stockdale and Eric Robert, every Saturday morning at 9, right here on News Talk STL. They can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call 636-695-2650, 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
News Talk STL. Always streaming on your smart speaker, our mobile app, or newstalkstl.com.
I'm Congressman Bob Onder, and you're listening to Mike Ferguson in the Morning on News Talk STL.
For approximately 15 to 20 minutes, our 911 call center was receiving these 911 calls, vehicles driving reckless while also discharging fireworks.
That is Mitch McCoy, police spokesman for the city of St. Louis. So 314 day, like Susie was saying, just a reason to get stupid around the city, apparently. I mean, but the thing is that there were legit festive 314-day celebrations around over the weekend, and it's all overshadowed by this nonsense.
Yeah, that's the thing. You're trying to celebrate the region, the area, like the area code, but then you're making it all about this stupidity.
Yeah.
So what do people associate it with? The stupidity.
And here's the thing: is you guys know that I don't do a lot of like the crime news and stuff like that.
Mhm.
I'm not the if it bleeds it leads kind of thing. I was in TV news back when that was the fad. Believe me, I was there in the 90s when that was the big thing. And if this were just, a little isolated incident, maybe a couple things, all right, some kids got out of hand and the cops had to go. No. This happened all over the place in the city. I mean, we're talking multiple street takeovers, multiple intersections blocked, multiple cases of shootings. At least 2 people were shot. And then in one case, there was and you can almost picture it from what Mitch McCoy was saying, a woman hanging out of a car as they were doing whatever stupidity. And here's his description of what happened with her.
One woman was hanging out of a vehicle that crashed as a result of the reckless driving. She was ejected from that vehicle.
We've all seen the social media videos of like people hanging out and like, well, and doing their thing. And then so something stupid happened and she went flying. Now that turns out that's not life threatening, but
so lucky
she hit the ground. And,
oh yeah. I feel like this is something where, and it'd be great if we had the manpower to do it, but the police almost need to be proactive instead of reactive. Instead of waiting to react to the 911 calls coming in. If they know that this is like a busy weekend like this, where there's likely to be maybe these sorts of activities, maybe there needs to be a heavy police presence in the most likely areas.
Now, some of these, like the downtown area, you can definitely predict that. Some of the South City ones, I don't know if you can predict that.
There's been more and more of it in South City, because I remember seeing, like, from 2 months ago, there was like a part of South City where they just took over an intersection. So, I mean, obviously you can't, cover everything. I get that. But if you are in the most likely areas with a heavy presence, then theoretically that should discourage it.
You would think so. But there's also a factor, and I thought at the press conference that Mitch McCoy was doing, he did throw this little nugget out as well.
There was one consistent problem that we saw throughout the night, even with multiple of these shootings. It was juveniles without their parents. They were nowhere in sight.
Yeah, and this isn't anything new, and it's not that kids don't get in trouble in West County or in St. Charles, but they're not taking over streets and shooting each other. And by the way, the two men who were shot, they were in their 20s, so they weren't juveniles. But for the most part, according to what the police are reporting, for the most part, these are juveniles who were doing the violent, dangerous behavior, and they're doing it at night. I'm thinking like South City. Okay, occasionally I play ball at Heine Miney Field.
Where's that?
It's like way down South City, and it is, first of all, I'm sure it used to be a great field, not a great field now. But we'll go down there, and I think if I'm reading the news reports, some of these were not far from that part of town. So I'm thinking, I'm driving back from a Saturday night game or a Sunday afternoon into evening game. What happens if I'm ended up getting surrounded by a bunch of juveniles who are taking over a street and wanting to climb on my vehicle and that sort of thing, fireworks and shots fired? What happens? Because this is eventually what's going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, it's not good. You can't. It's a major safety issue to the public, to the people involved in it, and the people that are just trying to go about their lives that get caught up in it. You can't have it. I mean, you just can't.
And so, what do we do about it? I mean, that's the question: is what do we do about it? This isn't anything new, because remember when you talk about the proactive, St. Louis police announced we're going to saturate downtown because we know a bunch of, I'm paraphrasing, we know a bunch are going to be dumb on 4th of July.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna saturate. We're gonna look for illegal fireworks. We're gonna look for and they saturated, and I think they put a dent in at least what happened. There was a lot of stupidity, but I don't think there was nearly as much as there would have been otherwise.
So it's got to be front end and back end. You got to be proactive. You got to have a heavy police presence to begin with, and then people that are violating the law need to be arrested and prosecuted.
That's huge. Yeah.
Maybe in the whole scheme of things, maybe the consequence is a month in jail. It may not be a significant consequence, but even so, you do need to follow through on those prosecutions. You can't just hand them a ticket and then write it off.
Put them in house arrest. Put them in an ankle monitor so you can't leave the house.
Yeah.
You have to stay inside now. This is how you're acting, and apparently the people that should be supervising these people either are not home or they don't care what their kid's doing. So you all get to stay inside, have a nice little vacation from society. We'll send some DoorDash to feed you, but you don't get to participate in society anymore.
Got to make sure your house arrest monitoring system is working properly. But yes. Agreed.
Yeah, and the a lot. Listen. I think every parent's worried about their kids doing something stupid. I didn't do anything criminal other than going to parties when I was in high school. But the idea of what we used to like kids being kids is different. There are going to be people. There are going to be adults. There are going to be media pundits who are going to say, "Well, don't crack down so hard. This kids being kids. They've got to learn. Don't commit them to the system and then put them in the pipeline." Well, no, you're putting yourself in the pipeline. Hey, parents, you're the ones failing. The system and the community isn't failing when they say you're doing dangerous stuff. You're threatening the well-being of people around you. You're violating people's rights to just drive around town.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like we should be going soft on these kids.
Can I tell a personal story?
Please.
When I was, I was sharing this with our friends in chat. I have a long family history of some rather adventurous souls who didn't always follow the law, particularly when it comes to driving. That's kind of part of the family lore. So I followed in their footsteps, and as a 13, 14, 15-year-old would occasionally take the car out. Thought I was being cool. In hindsight, not so much.
Mm-hmm.
My friend and I finally got caught. Guess what happened? She was actually the one driving at the time. It was our car, but she was driving, so she got the ticket. So I had to go. I went with her. Like, we went through the juvenile court thing. We went through the whole program. You had to, like, watch this. It was a movie about drunk driving, which didn't really apply to us in that situation. But we had to go through, sit through this whole class. I mean, we had to deal with the shame of we got in trouble for doing something we weren't supposed to do. And you know what I learned from that? I didn't drive again until I was allowed to. I didn't drive again until I had a permit, until I had a license. You know, I mean, that sounds stupid and basic, but my parents had me face the consequences of my bad actions.
That's the key word, though. Your parents did. I grew up in a very rough area, but the reason why I didn't engage in a lot of this kind of nonsense behavior was because of the fact that I did not want my mom or my grandparents to get upset with me and be in trouble with them. I could not care less about law enforcement. I cared more about my family being upset with me.
Is there anything worse than your parents telling you they're disappointed in you?
Well, we're getting the belt out, but yes.
But I mean, like, one way or another, you're like, oh,
but that's
man.
also the friends of mine that did engage in this similar type of behavior repeatedly, even after being arrested multiple times, is because they did not care. No, there was nobody outside of the law. So as long as they did not get caught by the law, then they were free to get away with it. And then if they did get caught, they got back out. And guess what? Just don't get caught again.
So, but let's talk about the elephant in the room here. What we're seeing in St. Louis City, and I'm sure there are other areas too. I'm not saying it's just an urban core thing, but the reality is that the parents don't give a crap.
Right.
So what do we do about it? You know, do you have to throw the book at the kids? I mean, I don't know if it's legal to charge parents with something or hold them accountable.
It can
somehow.
be, depending on what exactly the kid has done.
Yeah.
You know, in other words, if the kid takes the parent's car and causes an accident, sometimes negligent entrustment can be. You know, there are avenues for that, but you have to have a judicial system that's willing to actually enforce the law.
Yeah, no, I based on the definitions of the actual dictionary definition of child abuse, it would fall, I think, under neglect. But if you are not committing to your responsibilities and your duties as a caretaker, then that is by definition child abuse. I think that you should, again, don't put these kids in foster care. Don't separate them. You keep them all together and you put them in a nice room somewhere and you figure out how can we rehabilitate this family to have a functional role in society. And if not,
because that's what you want.
Yeah.
You don't want a bunch of people in jail. You want people actually functioning in society and behaving like normal civilized people.
And if not, we'll just we'll just go put them in the arch or something.
But we had a whole lot of people who were not acting like civilized people.
No. And
somebody's going to get mad at me for putting it that way, but that's just the fact of the
I
matter.
hope some parents, at least, this is a wake-up call, and they are going to be more involved in what their kids are doing.
And by the way, St. Louis Police they are underfunded to the tune of, 200 police officers at this point still? Something like that?
Yeah. Corporeal Being says the three options that he sees are to stay strapped, buy a Cybertruck, or just don't go there. And
just don't go there. That's what I do.
Yeah, just don't go there. I can't afford a Cybertruck.
Me neither.
You know, but anyways, while we're questioning this, how long can we afford to carry the cost of the war in Iran? And how bad will the lines get at the airports before Congress ends the stalemate over DHS funding? We've got the update from Congressman Bob Onder coming up at 7:35, so stay tuned.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Someone in that control room is out of control.
On NewsTalkSTL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Winter hits back hard today with much colder temperatures, strong winds, even a couple of pockets of snow this morning. We're stuck in the 20s all day, high at 29. Wind chills in the single digits early, between 10 and 15 this afternoon. And those gusts out of the northwest, 40 to 45 miles per hour this morning, slowly coming down this afternoon. And yeah, some light snow from time to time. Minimal impact on the roads, but a slick spot or two possible. Skies clear tonight. It is frigid, down to 15 for the morning low, and a mostly sunny but chilly St. Patty's Day at 36. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
This year, America turns 250, and NewsTalkSTL is celebrating our nation's semi-quincentennial all year long. NewsTalkSTL, #1 for live and local Soros-free talk, with proud supporters of our 250th birthday celebration. Roman T. Jewelers, Luxury Driver STL, Harry J. Steakhouse, and Snooze Mattress. 250 years strong, and we're just getting started. 101.9 and 94.1 NewsTalkSTL. Larry Connor's commentary, brought to you by Vincent's Jewelers, offering a wide selection of jewelry, including lab-grown diamonds, affordable earrings, bracelets, necklaces, and rings, up to 75% off their natural counterparts. Visit VincentsJewelers.com. This is Larry Connor's commentary on NewsTalkSTL.
Before COVID, banks had signs posted,
no mask allowed. And everyone coming in was probably wearing a mask. Then COVID went away, but banks still post no mask, and some customers still wear them. The banks also don't like you wearing sunglasses. Again, the fear, bank robbers use masks and sunglasses to hide their identity. So banks don't want masks, nor any type, for any reason, and no sunglasses. Add to that caps, especially hoodies, anything covering your head. Now, if you watch any surveillance video of a true criminal, even a suspected criminal, you're very likely to see them with a mask, glasses, and a hoodie. That does not mean everyone who likes to go about daily life with a mask, sunglasses, hoodie is a criminal. But criminals have common sense, and they don't want to be identified, and that's why they wear them. All right, so where am I going with all of this? You see, I was just given a hoodie. Should I wear it to the bank? Another dilemma of my life.
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL.
You should know that when I endorse Wellington Environmental, it's because I believe and know they will do you right. Wellington takes pride in providing homeowners and businesses whatever they need. You need some dustless blasting? They will take care of that. You need some mold remediation? They can do that. They take pride in training their team to perform multiple services and having the equipment ready to get jobs finished. That's important to you. You make just one call, and you call a company that's been around for more than 35 years with more than 45 technicians in the field. Most of you know finding good workers, then having them show up on time could be difficult. Not for Wellington Environmental. They're there at the designated time, ready to go. Check them out to see what they could do for you. Dustless blasting or anything else you need. Wellington Environmental, 314-644-4930. 314-644-4930. Be well with Wellington.
Hey, it's Susie Moore. If new flooring makes you think hassle, think again, because Michael's Flooring is changing the game. For over 30 years, Michael's has been locally owned and trusted for quality, variety, and amazing service. Whether it's carpet, hardwood, laminate, luxury vinyl, or ceramic tile, their expert team makes installing new floors exciting, not stressful. That's why customers keep coming back. Visit Michael's Flooring at St. Peter's, Starting Prairie, Creve Coeur, or online at igotfloored.com. That's igotfloored.com.
The news and talk.
I think Iran realizes it's isolated.
The world's a safer place.
That matters to St. Louis.
We didn't start this war, but under President Trump, we are finishing it.
This is 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Let's get back to all this madcap mayhem with Mike Ferguson in the morning. But don't forget, stick around for Jones and Arps every Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m.
You okay over there?
Hey, you have no room to talk.
I know.
We're all having Mondays. Yeah, I just basically threw coffee at my nose, pretty much. As one does.
Yes. Oh, my goodness. All right. So the war continues. No end date or specific goal yet, as you would expect. Also, lines are piling up at the airports. Your gas is getting more expensive. I think there's a lot of people saying, all right, so even if those who are on board, okay, what's the plan to finish the goal and extract and get things back to normal? Well, we're now visiting with Congressman Bob Onder. And the longer we go, we're in, day 17 now, I think it is, 16 or 17 at this point, Bob. And a lot of people are saying, okay, you can't put an end date and restrain yourself and compromise your strategy. We completely understand that. But, the administration has said this is going to be a short-lived operation. So how do you assess how it's going right now? And is there a danger of this expanding if we don't wrap up whatever the military goals are right away?
Well, good morning. It's great to be back. Yes, I think militarily the operation's going really well so far. 6,000 targets have been hit, according to the Department of War, including 65 naval vessels. Clearly, the United States and Israel control the air, control the sea, can really hit pretty much any Israeli target at will. But it doesn't take much with that very narrow Strait of Hormuz for the Iranians to shut that down. They hit something like 16 tanker ships in the last week. But I hope that the president's assessment that it's going to be pretty short-lived, that things will end and get back to normal pretty quickly will prove to be the case. Trump's calling on our allies to help us with naval escorts for the tanker ships. But it's hard to say. It could be a while because it doesn't. These drones are and missiles. They're relatively cheap compared to the anti-missile aircraft or missiles that we have to launch. So no, it could go on. In the meantime, of course, it's had its impact already on the price of oil. We're over $100 a barrel. We all see the higher prices at the pump. So I hope and pray that the conflict is short-lived, as the president has suggested.
Bob, one of the issues that's come up in the past couple of days, and I know that saw being discussed on the Sunday shows, and we were talking about it here earlier, is the fact that the administration has temporarily lifted the sanctions on Russian oil. And I obviously understand the reason. You want to free up the supply as much as possible, but of course then that opens you up to the criticism of you're basically doing a favor for Russia. What's your response to that?
Yeah, I think it's to stabilize the world oil market. It makes sense to bring any supply online that you can, but clearly embargo on Russian oil is one of the major points of leverage the United States and NATO had against Putin over the Ukrainian war. So it's a tough call. I don't know the exact effect leaving Russian oil offline would have had, but clearly the president and his advisors made that calculation and decided to go ahead and let the Russians go ahead and sell oil again.
We're visiting with Congressman Bob Onder. Secretary Bessent said late last week, we've got all the money we need to execute the war. Speaker Mike Johnson has said, as you know, that at some point the administration is going to have to come for some sort of supplemental appropriation for this. At some point, if this continues, Congress is going to have to be involved, at least when it comes to funding. At what point do you think is the right time for Congress to have a say in this? I mean, considering that Congress constitutionally is the one that's supposed to declare war in the first place. At what point do you have a role in the decision making as compared to just the commander in chief, the president, running things unilaterally?
Yep. Yeah. Under Article 1 of the Constitution, Congress has the power of the purse, and at the same time, every year, including the most recent budget bills, Congress appropriates a certain amount of money to the military. So essentially, it will be when the bills come due, when the Pentagon has to place more orders for missiles and so on. And I can't imagine that would be much more than a month or two out. I hope the conflict's over by then.
Right. Bob, the House already did its part, and even though that it may be a little tricky for some members to get back to D.C. With the weather and stuff, all eyes are on the Senate about the Save America Act at this point. It's up to them to see if they can get that done. I know they're going to be taking some votes, and there's going to be some discussion about it on the Senate floor. What's your read on the situation as far as the likelihood of them being able to get it done?
Yeah, that's right, Susie. The House passed the SAVE Act last year and then the Save America Act a couple of weeks ago. And it is finally going to the Senate floor. There will be a vote first on the House version of the Save America Act that we just passed. That is, likely not, to prevail unless a lot of Democrats really have an epiphany. And then the Senate will proceed to debate on a Senate version of the same bill, and various amendments will be offered. It's our understanding that the White House has tapped our good friend Senator Eric Schmidt to offer some of the friendly amendments to the Save America Act, things like protecting kids from transgender surgery, protecting women's sports, limiting mail-in ballots. But I don't think any of those things have 60 votes, because the Democrats will likely be united in opposition. So it's going to be a tough road. So this is the start of what we would call a talking filibuster. And we'll see how long the Democrats hold out. They too can offer amendments that they feel will be embarrassing to swing state Republicans. It will be really interesting to watch this play out. But I don't know, without some sort of elimination or modification of the filibuster, or doing the SAVE Act through reconciliation, I'm not sure I'm too optimistic about the chances of doing it using the procedure that the Senate will be using this week.
Okay, now another thing, obviously, the Democrats have dug in on is the funding for Department of Homeland Security and that aspects of it. Obviously, Susie was talking about a lot of people not able to get to Washington because of the weather. But we're seeing lines, including you. Yeah, welcome back home. But when you look at lines are piling up at a lot of key hub airports, and it doesn't look like that's going to go away anytime soon. What kind of effect are we looking at overall if this continues? I mean, we've seen the funding go out before. I saw Sean Duffy say that hundreds of TSA officers have quit. Basically, they're tired of not knowing when they're going to get paid or not get paid. So what's at stake as this continues? Because it just doesn't look like, from an outsider's perspective, Bob, that the Democrats are easing up, and you're no closer to getting this resolved between the two sides.
Yeah, it looks like the Democrats are hunkered down. Once again, the Democrats are putting illegal aliens first over American citizens. It's been 30 days now of the second Schumer shutdown. Again, we're seeing flight delays all over the country. Votes were canceled today because of the winter storm and anticipated flight delays. Even though the weather's here pretty good here in St. Louis, my plane was not available, so I had to turn around and go back home just today. In Houston, they're recommending passengers arrive 4 hours early for their flights. But even more concerning is that just in the last week, we had 2 terrorist attacks, one in Virginia, one in Michigan. So the Democrats, at a time America is effectively at war, and that Iran has made clear that they want their proxies around the world to attack the United States, the Democrats are shutting down the Department of Homeland Security. Yeah, not to mention the inhumanity of forcing all these federal workers, 270,000 of them, to go without paychecks. But this tells you just how much Democrats want to modify the United States immigration laws that they could never get changed on their own, but they're inflicting pain on the American people in order to effect de facto amnesty for millions of illegal aliens. It's really shameful.
All right, Congressman Bob Onder, obviously Save America Act this week to vote. What else do we need to be kind of watching for in the headlines? I know that I don't think there's anything with the Chloe Cole Act this week, is there?
Well, we've been. My office has been talking to Senator Schmidt. I'm hoping that the amendment that Senator Schmidt offers will be the Chloe Cole Act, but we'll see what decision is made there. But I've spoken with Chairman Jordan. I'm hopeful we can get a markup soon and then get the Chloe Cole Act out to the House floor.
Okay, Congressman Bob Onder, great chat with you again. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks,
Susie. Have a great day.
You too. You too. We've been talking a lot about the Strait of Hormuz and the bottleneck there, but one of my Tell Me Something Good stories is about a bottle that made its way all the way from the Bahamas to Portugal.
Oh, okay.
We'll have that come next.
I'm just a step away, I'm just a breath away, losing my faith today.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
He picked the wrong schoolyard to come into, I have to tell you this.
On NewsTalkSTL.
It's just another war, just another family torn.
Producer Joey B from the Tim Jones and Chris Arp Show here, reminding you, don't waste a buck on movies that suck. Tune in to Joey V's Movies Fridays at 5:45 for reviews you can trust. Brought to you by Harry J. Steakhouse in Moscow Mills.
License number GL250000615.
Hey, it's good to see you.
Home power used to be simple. Now the car plugs in, the scooter plugs in, the space heater plugs in, and your electric panel starts popping.
That sounds bad, but I like popcorn.
Popcorn is great, sparks are not. Call Grasser. We'll upgrade your panel so you can run it all.
Electric and plumbing, the Grasser way.
Green is always Grasser at GrasserHomeServices.com.
Country Mart in St. Clair is having a 16-hour sale. Saturday, March 21st, 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. Stock up with unbeatable prices. Family pack pork steaks, $1.69. 6-pack Dr. Pepper and 7-Up, 4 for $10. 24-pack of Best Choice bottled water, 2 for $5. 3-pound bag of Sunkissed mandarins, $3.99. 16-ounce Best Choice butter, quarters, $2.99. And assorted Lay's potato chips, buy one, get one free. Hurry while supplies last. See all items on our Facebook page. Country Mart on Plaza Drive in St. Clair.
Since 2003, Wounded Warrior Project has helped post 9/11 veterans adjust back to civilian life. Through specialized programs, they begin healing their bodies and minds while regaining a sense of camaraderie. Learn more at woundedwarriorproject.org/possible.
Hey, folks, it's Chris Salcedo, your liberty-loving Latino on Newsmax. Hey, everybody likes Mike. Mike Ferguson in the morning, News Talk, STL.
All right, boy, it just seems like we're starting off the week with so much, tough news. I mean, you've got the war, you've got violence in the streets of St. Louis. We have gremlins in our board again. Soros has reared his ugly head somewhere. I have a bat still in my place.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, Susie, I need you to tell me something good.
Tell me something good.
First story this week, a young musician uses violin to comfort shelter animals. In Houston, Texas, a young musician is turning his love of music into a way to help shelter animals relax and maybe even get adopted. Yuvi Agarwal, now 12, has been playing piano since he was 4 years old. A few years ago, he noticed something interesting at home. Whenever he practiced, his family's golden doodle, Bozo, seemed to calm down. That observation stuck with him, especially because Yuvi had also spent time at local shelters reading to animals as part of a school program, and staff noticed the same calming effect. In the spring of 2023, Yuvi decided to test an idea. If reading to animals helped them relax, what if live music could do the same thing? With help from his parents, he founded a nonprofit called Wild Tunes, which recruits volunteer musicians to play live music for animals in shelters. Yuvi also researched the idea and found evidence that live music can lower stress hormones in pets, helping them relax and show their personalities to potential adopters. The concept has taken off. Around 100 volunteer musicians and singers now participate, performing for animals at shelters in places like Houston, New Jersey, and Denver. And in 2025, a shelter in Downey, California adopted the program as well. Yuvi says the genre doesn't matter. Animals don't need to understand the lyrics. They just respond to the music. Happy tales to them.
So is it just the music, or is it coming from the person right there? I wonder if the person playing the music makes a big difference.
It could make a difference as well. I know at the shelter we do kind of have like the low level music playing for the animals just to try and help soothe them. So I think maybe both. Yeah.
Tell me something good.
This one really got me in the feels. A doctor adopts a young heart patient who arrived alone. At Children's Nebraska Hospital in Omaha, a moment in 2022 that started with heartbreak eventually turned into a powerful story about family and compassion. That year, a 4-year-old boy named True arrived at the hospital for heart surgery. True had congenital heart disease and had spent his early life in foster care. On the day of his operation, his social worker had COVID, which meant that the little boy was admitted to the hospital completely alone.
And he was how old?
4.
Oh.
That's when he met Dr. Amy Beath, the anesthesiologist on his surgical team. Seeing the child sitting by himself before a major operation deeply affected her. True's surgery lasted about 7 hours, and Beath later said she spent much of that time thinking about the boy and his situation. Afterwards, she contacted his caseworker to learn more about him. Soon the question came, would she consider adopting him? Amy and her husband Ryan met True in the hospital and quickly bonded with him. About a month after the surgery, he officially became part of the Beath family. The story didn't stop there. Working with extended family and friends, the Beaths helped find homes for all 6 of True's siblings, and the adoptions were finalized together during one large ceremony in August of 2023. What began as a surgery meant to repair a child's heart ended up building an entire family around him.
Wow.
Tell me something good.
I alluded to this. A message in a bottle travels 4,000 miles across the Atlantic. A simple experiment by a mother and son in the Bahamas turned into an incredible international connection almost exactly 1 year later. Amy Bisterzo and her 10-year-old son Lorenzo live in Fort Old Bay near Nassau, and on February 10, 2025, they decided to try something many kids dream about, throwing a message in a bottle into the ocean. Lorenzo wrote a note that included contact numbers and the name of their town. Then the two headed out on a jet ski and tossed the bottle into the sea, not really expecting anyone would ever find it. More than 4,000 miles away, the Atlantic had other plans. On February 12, 2026, a schoolteacher named Maria Enes was walking her dog on Via Cha Beach near Porto, Portugal, when she spotted the bottle among a pile of sticks. Inside was Lorenzo's note from the Bahamas. At first, Enes assumed the message must be local, but when she carefully opened the bottle and read the paper inside, she realized it had traveled all the way across the entire Atlantic Ocean. She called the number written in the note, and back in the Bahamas, Amy suddenly saw a message from Portugal on her phone. Nearly a year after tossing that bottle into the ocean, Lorenzo finally got the answer every kid hopes for. Someone found it.
And Sting didn't have anything to do with this with one of the songs, did he?
Did not.
Okay.
Tell me something good.
Now it's time for the national days, and there's a lot of them this week, so bear with me here. All right, Monday, today, it's National Curl Crush Day. This is celebrating people with curly hair. Just, be proud of your curls.
Okay.
I don't have to, I can't relate to that. National Panda Day. National Artichoke Hearts Day. Love me some artichoke hearts.
I do like artichoke hearts,
love.
Yeah.
National Everything You Do Is Right Day.
That's just every day for me.
Right. So Well, this is just a special day. I think maybe coming off of a rough weekend, the idea is to, okay.
I'm keeping my mouth shut on
It's
that.
also National Freedom of Information Day, celebrating all those people who, help champion the sunshine laws and get records exposed. So, yay.
Yes, go.
Go Freedom of Information. Woohoo. Tuesday is National 3D Day, and that's because it's like the third month.
The
third Tuesday, the third month, I don't know.
So the third day of the third week of the third month.
There's 3 Ds in there somehow, and I forget how it works. But anyway, it's also St. Patrick's Day.
Well, that's right, which means...
And it's National Corned Beef and Cabbage Day.
Of course.
Duh.
Which means there's going to be the parade, I think, is tomorrow.
Well, there probably was one on
weekend?
Saturday, but there may be more tomorrow.
There will be revelry around the area.
I'll be wearing my green. Wednesday, National SBDC Day, which I forget what it stands for, but I can look it up real quick. It's weird. Didn't think about this. Small Business Development Centers.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
I need to go get somebody a card.
Yeah.
I don't know who.
I'm sure Hallmark has one.
Yeah.
National Biodiesel Day. National Sloppy Joe Day.
I like a good Sloppy Joe. Okay, cheese, no cheese.
I like cheese.
I like cheese.
Cheese is
good.
Cheese,
no cheese, Jerome.
I've never had cheese on one, so now I have to go try one.
Now you got to try it.
Yeah, it's got to be like at least halfway melted.
Good melty cheese. Yeah. National Lacy Oatmeal Cookie Day.
Lacy?
I think that's like a kind of them, like with it's got like maybe like the frosting on top.
Oh, okay.
National Awkward Moments Day. Well, we've had plenty of those today.
Yeah, we're celebrating early.
And National Supreme Sacrifice Day, which is a tribute to people who've given their all to benefit others, whether it's through the military or just being a heroic act of some sort. Thursday, National Ag Day, National Farm Rescuer Day. I guess that's to people that are helping farms stay afloat. Absolutely Incredible Kids Day. This is affirming kids because they need it so much. National Backyard Day. Celebrate your backyard.
Celebrate.
The backyardigans? I don't know. National Certified Nurses Day. National Let's Laugh Day. And then Friday is National Macaron Day. That's the little colored cookies. I'm not a big.
Never cared for those.
Yeah, me neither. National Future Generations Day. Again, celebrating the kids.
Okay. Future generations. We're going to celebrate kids who aren't even here yet?
Right. Well, sure.
They haven't earned it.
Well, maybe we should think about that and all the things that we're loading onto them right now. Yeah. National Proposal Day.
Oh,
so if you're thinking about it, guys, spring begins. National
is that Friday?
On Friday.
That's the official first day.
Official first day of spring. National Native HIV/AIDS Awareness Day and National Ravioli Day.
We do like that in St. Louis.
We do. Yeah, it's a busy week,
especially if they're toasted.
Toasted are the best.
Toasted Ravs. You've indulged in the toasted Ravs already, right?
They're all right.
Yeah.
Oh, you gotta have the good kind.
You're going to be a St. Louis, and you need to have a better reaction than that, Jerome.
Life's legal challenges deserve experienced representation. For over 15 years, Cole Combs Attorney at Law has been serving St. Charles and surrounding counties with comprehensive legal expertise. From tax preparation and estate planning to family law and criminal defense, Cole delivers personalized solutions for your unique situation. You have traffic tickets, need a business formation, real estate matters, one call will handle it all. Cole O. Combs Attorney at Law. Call 636-949-0010 extension 3 today or visit colecombs-law.com.
Now, the Free Market Minute, brought to you by the Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise at Lindenwood University.
Hey, it's Mike Ferguson from The Morning Show, and I'm here with Dr. Grant Black. And Grant, does having more economic freedom make a difference in people's lives, such as maybe helping reduce poverty?
It definitely makes a difference. Economic freedom is critical for fostering well-being and prosperity. It enables people to make their own choices and pursue their own interest, like choosing careers, starting businesses, and innovating to make the world better. It thrives in environments that empower people, promote competition, and protect property rights, all while being supported by limited and healthy government. Economic freedom is a catalyst for generating higher incomes, greater wealth, more opportunities, better access to education, and improved health at all levels of society. It makes a difference.
The John W. Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise at Lindenwood University fosters and examines market-oriented approaches to economic and social issues. To learn more, visit hammondinstitute.org.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNVS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Greg Clugston in Washington. President Trump says that other countries should help with the Strait of Hormuz, including China. He says about 90% of China's oil is transported through that strait.
Why aren't we maintaining the Hormuz Strait when it's really there for China and many other countries? Why aren't they doing it?
The Israeli military says it's been conducting limited ground operations for several days now against Hezbollah in southern Lebanon.
The Israeli military announced this morning that it had already begun this expansion of its ground operations there, saying that it is targeting key Hezbollah strongholds in the south of Lebanon. There are 3 divisions that are already operating in the south of the country for the Israeli military, and they're saying that 2 more divisions are going to be joining this operation in the coming days.
That's the BBC's Yolande Nell. Parts of the upper Midwest into the Great Lakes are dealing with blizzard conditions.
A lot of these areas are seeing 1 to 2 feet of snow, portions of Minnesota, Wisconsin, northern Michigan, locally higher totals. Quite a bit of wind with this storm, too, so we have the blowing snow issue as well. And then the cold temperatures behind it, we'll have temperatures across portions of the northern plains that get below 0.
That's Mark Chenard at the National Weather Service. He says a severe weather front sweeping across much of the eastern half of the United States has spawned thunderstorms in the south and is also threatening several mid-Atlantic states with heavy rain and possible tornadoes later today. In the Washington, D.C. region, including Maryland and Virginia, schools are closing early today because of the threat of severe weather. Wall Street stock futures are pointing higher this morning. The S&P futures up 63%, almost 1%. Townhall.com.
The following is a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
I had a lot of credit card debt, and it stressed me out. But what I thought was a solution turned out to be a problem. I kept hearing ads about debt settlement that seemed too good to be true. And actually, it was. When I called, they told me to stop paying my bills. That didn't sound right to me at all, so I hung up. Later, I found out that debt settlement is bad, real bad. Then I learned that there is a right way to pay off your credit cards. It's called a debt management program from the great team at Trinity. Trinity had a plan. In the end, I paid off my bills, I saved thousands, and I even improved my credit score.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976.
My name is Heather. Please forget debt settlement and remember Trinity Debt Management.
1-800-990-6976.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Winter hits back hard today with much colder temperatures, strong winds, even a couple of pockets of snow this morning. We're stuck in the 20s all day, high at 29. Wind chills in the single digits early, between 10 and 15 this afternoon. And those gusts out of the northwest, 40 to 45 miles per hour this morning, slowly coming down this afternoon. And yeah, some light snow from time to time. Minimal impact on the roads, but a slick spot or two possible. Skies clear tonight. It is frigid, down to 15 for the morning low, and a mostly sunny but chilly St. Patty's Day at 36. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Hey, Tony Colombo here with Tim Jones for our friends Rodney and Jen Wallner, the Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway, the #1 home selling team in the St. Louis area, and I can say that from firsthand experience. My wife and I were blown away from the results that we saw from working with Rodney and Jen, from selling our old home faster and for more money than we thought possible to finding our family's perfect new home. They over-delivered every step of the way, and right now it's still very much a seller's market. So, Tim, for folks that have been thinking about selling their home, it's a perfect time to call the Wallners.
That's right, Tony. And don't forget, they're licensed in both Missouri and Illinois, so no matter where you are in the metro area, you can put St. Louis's #1 home selling team to work for you. The Wallners' experience and work ethic, second to none. And of course, the numbers speak for themselves. The Wallners sell 15 times more homes per year than the typical realtor. Right now, they're working with so many qualified buyers, they'll guarantee to obtain you an offer. If you've been thinking about selling your home, don't wait. Call the Wallners now at 314-810-SOLD. That's 314-810-SOLD for the Wallner home selling team.
Mike Ferguson.
Boo! Relax, nerd.
Susie Moore.
And that would be a good time to respond with some applause.
Get up, can't you hear the alarm?
Get up, St. Louis.
That's a banana republic without the banana.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
You know, it shouldn't surprise anybody that letting violent criminals back out results in more violent crime.
Makes sense.
And in Illinois, you've got the defund the police fringe left calling a lot of the shots when it comes to policy. And now, predictably, the results of that have been targets put on the backs of law enforcement officers. Saw this op-ed or letter to the editor in the Chicago Sun-Times. It was written by our friend Tom Weitzel, retired police chief of Riverside, and he joins us right now, of course, doing a lot of work with the Wake, Illinois right now as well. So, Chief, good to chat with you again. Your article, Ramp Up Efforts to Protect Police Officers, doesn't start with laying out the facts or the law or the policy. It starts off with your emotional reaction to what's happened. I mean, this happened to be in Chicago, but it could have been anywhere in Illinois. When you saw the news, the attempt to kill 4 police officers, in Chicago, that obviously hit you in a very, very visceral way. Tell me why, and I'm just going to guess because some of it could have been prevented.
Yeah, good morning. Absolutely, for sure. When I read that news story when I woke up in the morning, You had 4 Chicago police officers in fully marked squad cars in uniform responding to what was reported as a prostitution complaint, and they were fired upon by an individual who had no hesitation of shooting at the officers, knew they were officers, and then after he shot at all of them, all on the same call for service. This isn't 4 different instances. There was a foot pursuit. The officers were able to take him into custody and recover the gun. And of course, he shouldn't have been on the street in the first place. He was on parole and had a long, violent criminal history. And it's this cycle in Illinois that happens over and over and over again. And now they're targeting law enforcement because simply when he was interviewed, he just said he didn't want to go back to prison.
And of course, the quickest way to go back to prison would be to shoot at police officers, you would think.
Right. He did. They asked him, "Why did you know?" It was quoted in the paper. Did you know that you were shooting in the direction of the Chicago police officers? He said, "Yes." He didn't want to get caught, and he didn't want to go back to prison.
Wow. I mean, and here let's hone in on that reference of a long criminal history, and yet he's out. And shocking news here: the gun control laws in Illinois didn't stop him from getting a weapon in the first place. That's the preventable part that we were just chatting about a second ago. So where is the breakdown? And then when you look at the follow-up that the Assembly is doing right now, that the governor, J.B. Pritzker, is pushing right now, I can't even say that they're doing something to address it.
They're doing nothing to address it. In fact, they're making it worse. In Springfield, the legislature is not supporting police. There's no doubt. They're not passing positive safety legislation, training legislation, even legislation that would keep repeat offenders back in custody. In fact, in Illinois, we have this ridiculous Safety Act that requires no safety, and they just passed a law last month that went into effect for the Clean Slate Act, which makes it the criminal history records can be sealed every 6 months in Illinois without the defendant asking for it to be done. So it's an automatic sealing of records that aren't available to anybody. So these individuals are being released back onto the streets. They're being released early. And people look at me like, say, well, Chief, they served their time. They did not. You get time in Illinois for being on electronic monitoring. You get time for sitting at home waiting for your trial. You get 50% good time while in custody. There's some individuals who go into custody, they plead guilty or are found guilty, and they're released the day they arrive at the state prison because of all the credited time they've had sitting waiting for their trial. That is about as ridiculous as you can get.
Tom, a lot of states have tried the clean slate thing since you brought that up. And there are some conservative think tanks and groups like that are proposing some kinds of clean slate. So I guess you could do it well and you could do it badly. Does the clean slate law that passed in Illinois, does that include violent crime? Because in other states, the misdemeanors, the nonviolent stuff, that falls off after a while, but they treat violent crime differently in other states.
Yeah, well, what it does in Illinois is it does include some violent crimes, and there's this provision that the other states don't have. Illinois put the provision is it's an automatic expungement. So every 6 months, the state is supposed to review these records, and without you, the defendant or your attorney, filing for a motion to ask for the case to be expunged, appear in front of a judge, explain why you should get that case expunged. It's automatically expunged. You have to do nothing as a defendant. That's absurd. You could be arrested every 3 months, and theoretically in Illinois, you could get that expunged every time without even asking for it.
All right, so what you're saying, Tom, is if I decide to change careers and pursue a life of crime, I really ought to come across the river and do it in your state.
Well, without a doubt. There should be a welcoming sign there that we're going to put you right back. If you get convicted, we're going to put you right back out on the streets.
All right, we're visiting with retired Police Chief Tom Weitzel. Of course, does a lot of work with our friends at Awake, Illinois. His op-ed in the Chicago Sun-Times, ramp up efforts to protect police officers. So let's start there. When you look at what's happening in the Assembly right now, is there any hope at any point that the Assembly is going to do something proactive to back the blue and to support law enforcement right now?
There isn't. It's kind of sad right now. So even at the federal level, but I'll start with the state level. I am going to be helping co-chair organization that's going to help put common sense reforms into this Safety Act, and that's a big deal in Illinois because the Safety Act got rid of bond. It got rid of bond. It got rid of bond court. It got rid of all those provisions that you would have to appear in front of a judge. So we know in Illinois that it's Democrat-controlled Springfield, and they're not going to get rid of the Safety Act. The governor has said he would listen to proposals on improvements. And you know why he did that? You know what it took in Illinois for him? For 5 years, he said he wouldn't. Law enforcement could forget it. We're not going to do anything for you. When a woman was set on fire on the CTA train in Chicago, she was doused with a liquid fluid, set on fire, and that individual had 73 prior arrests. Then the governor said, well, we'll look at maybe law enforcement could come back to us on what they think should be amended in that legislation, that piece of law. So I'm doing that. I'm going to be writing up what I think the governor's office should amend. And then at the federal level, I'll just tell you the single biggest piece of legislation we need to get passed is what's called the Protect and Serve Act. It's been lingering in Washington for a decade, and that law would make attacking or assaulting police officers a federal crime, even for local law enforcement, and it would carry a 10-year minimum if convicted, and if you actually shoot a police officer, you would get life in prison.
All right, visiting with Tom Weitzel. A lot of work with Wake, Illinois. Now, let me go back to ask the Safety Act. You said there's some proposed amendments that the governor's office reluctantly said they will listen to. What are some tweaks that you'd like to see in Illinois on this?
Well, we need to go back to having some kind of bond. It's right now, it's just called first appearance court, where you just go and they decide whether you stay in custody or not. And most of the time, if you're not in custody, you walk out the door, or you get on electronic monitoring. But in Illinois, that's a misnomer. Nobody's monitoring you. So you have to get rid of what's called the postcards. It means if you come to court and then you skip court, in Illinois, they used to put a warrant out for your arrest. They no longer do that. You have like 3 opportunities for them to send you a postcard to say, hey, you missed your court date. Could you please make the next one? And they assign you a court date. That's ridiculous. They need to get rid of essential movement dates, which means that while you're on electronic monitoring, you have 3 days a month. You can do whatever you want. And proponents said that was so individuals could go to doctor's appointments, they could attend funerals and wakes, they could go to take care of sick relatives without being monitored by authorities. That's absurd. There's been cases where individuals have committed homicides while on essential movement days. So those types of provisions that need to be changed, and they need to allow judges more leeway. Right now, it's really stay in custody or not stay in custody, and that's it. And it is really a joke when they say that we've done what we could here in Illinois. We put somebody on electronic monitoring. Well, the sheriffs in every county have said, we don't have the staff. You're putting everybody on EM. You're putting hundreds and thousands of defendants. We don't have the officers to follow these individuals. So nobody is monitoring them. They have to get that through their head. Like, you're putting them on EM, and they're not being monitored. That needs to change.
Now, Tuesday, primary day in Illinois, I think a lot of people are forgetting that. The districts are all drawn pretty carefully here. Is there any part of this that could be message sent in the results of the primary elections?
I think the only message they could send, there's no initiative, right? There's no ballot initiative right now, but who wins their primaries could send a message. If there were a few Republicans who are pro amend the Safety Act, amend the Clean Slate Act, get rid of good time in Illinois. I mean, the minute you walk in state prison, you get 50% off of your sentence. That has to change. If there are legislators running or individuals running for elected office who are on those type of platforms, and they were to actually get by this first challenge here, get to be able to be in the race, that would be a positive sign.
Okay, so what's the timetable on the proposed amendments that you're going to be working on as well? So, because I want to keep track of that, because this is probably second only to the tax and spending issues that's driving people out of the state of Illinois, and it's a pretty close second, probably.
Yeah, there's really 2 dates. One, I'm going to be the statewide committee. We're probably going to get up running in about a month or so, and we're going to have 2 co-chairs. Myself, we're going to get somebody from downstate Illinois, so we can have a really good mix. And we're just going to come up with professionals who are practitioners, clerks, lawyers, defense attorneys, everybody. We're like, what can we do to change this law? Common sense. So I think in the next 60 to 90 days, you'll see something. And then really in the next week, I'm going to be putting out my own position papers through Awake Illinois. So I'm going to be putting out what I think needs to be done with legislation in Illinois, followed by a couple weeks later, the federal legislation. And then I'm going to put out a special announcement on what needs to be changed in the Safety Act. So I'm going to do that through my position as a fellow at Awake Illinois. So all those proposals will be coming out probably within the next 60 to 90 days.
Okay, so Awake Illinois would be the best place to keep track of that, or do you have another website or social media you want us to check out as well?
Well, you know what? Awake Illinois is a great place to go because they're posting all my stuff as part of their organization. But people can follow me on my own X account at Chief Weitzel. That's ChiefWeitzel. I put everything on my X account, so they can either follow it either place.
All right, we've already tagged on ours as well. All right, Chief, good to talk to you again. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me. Have a great morning.
All right, the big dance brackets are announced. The Tigers, the Billikens, and the Illini are all in. We've got the details for you in the news dump. Going to come your way right around 8:20.
Don't try to make me stop, no inspiration. You have a soul so dark, it is no more. And all at once depart, no destination. Making cold my heart to fight your war. Stop it right now.
Well, there you go again. Listening to Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Before you blow us all away.
Hello, everyone. It's Fez with the Moolah Shrine Circus. I want to remind you to get your tickets now for our big circus in March. We've got new exciting acts like the Swinging Trapeze, the Daring Horseman, the Human Cannonball, and much more. And kids under 12 are free with a paid general admission ticket. So go to moolah.org and get your tickets today. For the Moolah Shrine Circus, March 20th to the 22nd at the St. Charles Family Arena.
Tim Jones here to introduce you to your new favorite roofing company, Corel Roofing. There were 4 major storms last year. Did your roof take a hit? Do you even know? Most homeowner insurance policies require claims to be filed within 1 year, so time's running out for a closer look. At Corel Roofing Company, you get a local roofing specialist who will advocate for you every step of the way. Give yourself peace of mind. Schedule your roof inspection today with Corel Roofing at CorelRoofingCo.com. That's CorelRoofingCo.com.
Tired of settling for generic fishing gear? Say hello to Bullseye Bait and Tackle, O'Fallon's one-stop shop for serious anglers. Live bait, premium tackle, rods, reels, and an unbeatable selection of lures from top brands like Megabass, Zoom, and Berkley. Whether you're after bass, catfish, crappie, or bluegill, they've got the gear to help you land the big one. Plus, their expert team, led by Mark and Liz, provides rod and reel repair services. Bullseye Bait and Tackle, 266 Fort Zumwalt Square, or at bullseyebaitantackle.net.
News, analysis, opinion.
It almost seems common sense, but, alas, common sense isn't so common these days.
News Talk STL.
Bill O'Reilly here. Check out the O'Reilly Update this afternoon at 3:45. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
All right, let's go from crime in Illinois to crime in the city. 314-a turns violent and stupid in the city over the weekend.
I mean, I guess you don't really need an excuse to act like that in St. Louis, but it's just weird that would be the excuse to act like that.
Right. And then people are wondering, well, why don't we have more community cohesion things in St. Louis? We're trying to celebrate the city and build a community. Well, because idiots let their idiot kids go out and do this.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah. Also, Russia getting a break from the U.S. as the administration deals with threats to the oil supply And like I said, brackets are announced and 3 area teams are going dancing this month. It is 8:21. Let's do one more news dump.
Successful dump.
Wake up, America.
It all worked out.
They got all the news.
The morning news dump.
All right, city police were busy over the weekend dealing with shootings, street takeovers, other large crowds during a 314-day celebration day. At least 2 men suffered non-life-threatening injuries during a shootout near Locust Street. 3 other shootings are reported around the city. Also, near Broadway and Halls Ferry, a shots-fired situation happened when hundreds of young people were blocking the street. Around the city, police used spike strips, and they stopped dozens of cars. At least 50 cars got hit with the spike strips during the chaos that's happening. And a police spokesman tells media that there's one constant factor when it comes to everything that was happening.
There was one consistent problem that we saw throughout the night, even with multiple of these shootings. It was juveniles without their parents.
Yeah, that is...
They were nowhere in sight.
That is Mitch McCoy, the spokesman for the St. Louis Police Department.
Yeah, I mean, these absent parents are why we can't have fun at the mall anymore. They're why we can't have fun at Six Flags anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Now we can't even have a 314 day without chaos erupting.
Exactly. All right. Other things going on. We are in day 17 now of the war in Iran. Let's see here. Senator Adam Schiff, Democrat out of California, on NBC's Meet the Press.
Already we've spent billions and billions of dollars, and more significant, we've lost 13 service members as a result of the war. And we still haven't heard a clear articulation of why we're at war. What was the imminent threat we were facing? They've said it was a nuclear threat, but the intelligence doesn't back that up.
And Congressman Michael McCall, Republican out of Texas, was on Fox News Sunday discussing.
The military objective here is being accomplished. In fact, they're ahead of schedule. They're demoralizing the Navy, the Air Force. They're getting rid of the sea mines in the straits. The drones are probably one of the top issues right now, and they're dealing with that to clear the straits out to have free access to energy going through that sector.
And U.S. and Israeli airstrikes have just hit the Tehran airport just a little bit ago to take out more of Iran's capabilities. Iran leaders are telling media that they are not trying to make a deal or get a ceasefire. President Trump says that they are trying to make a deal. It's just not good enough. Who do you believe? Who do you not believe? It doesn't really matter until the missiles stop flying.
Exactly.
Okay, U.S. is pausing sanctions on Russian oil shipments. I did not see this one coming.
In a bid to stabilize global energy markets during the war against Iran, the Trump administration has announced a 30-day waiver on Russian oil sanctions. European leaders said now was not the time to relax sanctions against Moscow. And Ukrainian President Zelensky said the waiver was not the right decision and won't help bring a stop to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Yeah, I mean, basically what's happening is Russia is going to get a fresh round of funding. In with the oil. Of course, we know Russia, China, Iran are kind of this, partnership that's happening. So if anything, it's going to exacerbate Russia's attacks and war on Ukraine as well. So I see what the president's doing. Basically, you've got a significant amount of the world's oil supply being choked up through the Strait of Hormuz. And so he's going to be trying to allow access to more oil. Well, the profits from that are going to Russia. So this is a big break, a big break for the Kremlin.
Yeah, and Iran has especially just recently announced that they're only slowing and stopping traffic through the strait for the U.S., Israel, and our allies. They're going to be allowing the tankers to go to China, Russia, and basically non-allied areas. So it really seems that if this is going to be a contentious point for the direction of the war, then more of our allies are going to have to step up and get involved with this to open that strait up.
Yeah, and the president is asking NATO allies in particular to help with naval escorts to go through there, because there are a lot of oil tankers that just won't go because they're worried about the drone attacks from Iran.
Yeah, because the ones that have tried to muscle their way through, they end up getting sunk like a submarine.
On the bottom of the ocean, yep. Yeah. Or on the bottom of the strait, I should say. Okay, so when it comes to gas prices today, according to AAA, the national average price for a gallon of regular gas as of about 5:15 this morning, $3.72 a gallon. Average price in Missouri, $3.25 a gallon. Prices around the region generally ranging from $3.47 to $3.50. I think I did see a $3.59 yesterday, though. In Illinois, the average price is $372 as well, with prices in the Metro East around $375.
Yeah, when I went to the gas station I went to last week, which had already seen a 30-cent increase, saw another 40 cents on top of that. So I'm already missing paying $2.69 instead of $3.20 for my gas. But
yeah, like I said, I filled up yesterday. It was $50, and I'd gotten so accustomed to $35. I'm like, wow, that sucks.
And to my friends that drive Teslas, I don't need you rubbing my nose at it right now, okay?
All right. Parts of the city have a boil advisory in place. I'll tell my daughter to pipe down. She drives a Tesla now. City's water division says a water main break is to blame for the boil order, and this affects Lindenwood Park, Northampton, and the St. Louis Hills neighborhood, so South City, basically. The advisory is just a precaution. Will likely expire today unless there is a problem with the water testing, which they don't have any reason to believe. But it was a 20-inch main, and for those of you who don't understand all that, that's like the main one. That's a big, big main. And so what happens is when that breaks, the water pressure goes down to nothing. When the water pressure goes back, all of that sediment that's at the bottom, it gets stirred up. And that's why they worry about stuff that could be in there. So they're just testing the water, make sure it's okay. And then probably by midday, it'll be fine. You'll get the all clear.
Yeah, to be honest, I mean, at this point, it's probably worth investing in some sort of water filtration thing. I mean, there are a lot of cheap ones out there. Just better safe than sorry.
Yep, exactly. Okay, Team USA facing off against the Dominican Republic in the semifinals of the World Baseball Classic late last night. U.S. was leading the Dominican Republic 2-1, 2 outs, bottom of the 9th inning. Ooh. Runner on third base, and then this happened.
Mason Miller's 8th pitch to Perdomo. It is on with the championship.
That is from Fox Sports 1 coverage of the game that happened in Miami. The U.S. moves on. They're going to play the winner of tonight's game between Venezuela and Italy. Then the championship will be tomorrow, 7 o'clock our time. Here's the thing is that that last strike 3 call was a full count. Strike 3 call, controversial. It was low. It looked like it was low, but the umpire had been calling that low strike all game long, but it sure looked like it was below the knees. So Dominican Republic not happy about the call, but to their credit, they held their head up high. They didn't do anything that would besmirch the game, but it was a little questionable.
So it was a questionable call. However, that the ump was making the questionable call the entire night.
I always tell the umpires I work with when I'm catching, I said, I don't care where your strike zone is, as long as it's the same strike zone, I know what to deal with. That's old school, and that's what you had last night. So next World Baseball Classic, they're probably going to bring in those stupid robot
the
umpires.
AI ones,
the ABS is what they call it. I can't stand it, but it was questionable for sure. All right, Cardinals get a 6-3 win in spring training, beating the Nationals in Jupiter. Let's see here. Belson Velasquez had a 3-run homer in the first, drove in another run in the fifth. Redbirds do not have a game today. The Tigers, the Illini, and the Billikens are all dancing this month.
Oh.
Illinois, 3rd seed in the NCAA's South Regional. They will play Pennsylvania on Thursday. SLU is seeded 9th in the Midwest Regional. They are going to play Georgia on Thursday. The Tigers are 10th seed in the West Regional. They play Miami of Florida on Friday. And actually, that first-round game on Friday is going to be at the Enterprise Center in St. Louis. And the Blues end up on the wrong side of a 3-2 game against the Jets in Winnipeg last night. Still, though, Blues have won 2 of their last 3 games. The road trip continues on Wednesday. They're going to be in Calgary.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
I have to tell my kids that I'm a rock star now.
On NewsTalkSTL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Winter hits back hard today with much colder temperatures, strong winds, even a couple of pockets of snow this morning. We're stuck in the 20s all day, high at 29. Wind chills in the single digits early, between 10 and 15 this afternoon. And those gusts out of the northwest, 40 to 45 miles per hour this morning, slowly coming down this afternoon. And yeah, some light snow from time to time. Minimal impact on the roads, but a slick spot or two possible. Skies clear tonight. It is frigid, down to 15 for the morning low, and a mostly sunny but chilly St. Patty's Day at 36. 26. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
Fox News commentary with Jimmy Fallon next.
Most investments today feel like second jobs. Real estate, you're a landlord. Stocks, you're a day trader. Crypto, you're a full-time researcher. You've got a life to live. Your investment should help you live it. That's why more Americans are choosing gold. Noble Gold has helped thousands protect their future with real physical gold. Visit noblegoldinvestments.com to get your free wealth protection kit. That's noblegoldinvestments.com. Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals, including gold, involves risks. Consult with your tax attorney or financial professional before making an investment decision.
Here's Jimmy Fallon.
What can you point to as a Democrat to say things improved in your life because we voted Democrat? Like in the last 4 years, the running joke was Trump's tweets went away. Granted, we've got the highest level of illegal border crossings in history. Gas prices doubled. Inflation hit a 40-year high. Grocery prices went up 30%, but at least we have no more mean tweets. Guys, most people who vote against Donald Trump vote against Donald Trump because they can afford to. They're literally voting their feelings. Do you remember that embarrassing email where Jimmy Kimmel's wife said, "Oh, I sent this to my family. Like, we feel betrayed that some of you voted Trump, knowing Jimmy has such an animus with Donald Trump." Can you imagine being that detached from the primal nature of everyday life that you think people should be going to the polls for no other reason than whether or not it'll hurt your husband's feelings?
For more commentary like this, go to foxnewspodcast.com.
To have a roof over your head, a nice roof over your head, is very important.
That's Rick talking about his experience with Rhino Shield ceramic coating.
We got Rhino Shield 18 years ago. And they're very cooperative on getting us the right paint. They were in and out and done in no time. Once it was finished, looked great. We were very happy with it.
The main reason Rick called Rhino Shield is because it's backed by a 25-year transferable warranty.
We've watched a lot of people get their house painted 3 or 4 times, and we haven't had to do any of it. I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to have to paint it every 5-7 years.
Take a tip from Rick and put down the paintbrush and call Rhino Shield for your free evaluation. 877-25-RHINO. 877-25-RHINO or visit 877-25rhino.com.
We got Rhino Shield 18 years ago. Financially makes sense, especially if it's going to last like this did. Still looks great.
Call now, 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com.
Don't paint, don't Rhino, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Hey, Jamie Ullman here for Window World. Did you know that Window World offers a lifetime warranty that covers all parts, glass breakage, and labor? They are one of the only 2 replacement windows with the Good Housekeeping seal of approval. Window World St. Louis has been owned and operated by a group of born and raised St. Louis residents for more than 23 years, and now Window World is offering 36 months same as cash financing with approved credit. Call them today, 800-GET-WINDOWS for a free in-home, no-pressure estimate. That's Window World at 800-GET-WINDOWS.
Whether at home or at work, you're mobile. So when you're mobile, stay mobile. Keep St. Louis's home for conservative talk with you wherever you go. Download the NewsTalk STL app in the App Store or at NewsTalkSTL.com.
Hi, it's Vic Porcelli.
And Ken.
Hi, Ken.
Hey, Vic.
Ken and I are on every Monday through Friday here on News Talk STL. Right now, you're listening to Mike Ferguson in the morning on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Whoosh, my morning, people.
You know, one of the things I enjoy the most about our conversations, on the morning show at least, is I think that we've got kind of a News Talk STL family who's watching and listening. And even when we don't agree with each other, I think we're open to the discussions, to the conversations.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's really easy to say, go sick 'em to the government, as long as you're saying, go sick 'em to somebody else and the other side and the rascals over there. And I oftentimes, and this is probably more the libertarian in me, saying, be careful about giving the government that right and setting that precedent. Yeah, that guy's a scoundrel. But be careful, because you're equipping the government, who is simply the robot that gets programmed by whoever's in charge.
Yeah, and it's interesting that not as many people as I would have expected realize that there are people that stay in these positions regardless of who the president and their administration is at the time. So once you open up a can of worms, the people that can benefit from that might be in power for quite a while afterwards.
Yeah, so FCC Chairman Brendan Carr he went on social media and was threatening to not renew the licenses of broadcasters that President Trump is accusing of not giving fair coverage to the war in Iran. And we've heard this threat before, even before the war in Iran started. The president and Brendan Carr and others basically saying, you're biased against us. We don't like your coverage. We're going to yank your license. And I'm not oversimplifying it. That's really basically what was said. We don't like the way you cover us. We think you're unfair. We think you're fake news. Therefore, we will yank your license and not allow you to do business. And there's a lot of people like, yeah, they are fake news. Yeah, they're biased. Well, we've been biased for decades. And that doesn't take away from the crap that is the mainstream media right now. Nobody trusts them. Nobody believes it. Even people who love them know that they're getting biased stuff. So the broadcast television news in particular is basically in the basement as far as people watching and people trusting them. But there's the bigger picture here. The government saying, I don't like what you're saying, therefore I'm not going to allow you to say it, is something we need to worry about. So here is Senator Ron Johnson, a Republican out of Wisconsin, when he was asked about whether or not the FCC should not renew or if they should yank licenses from broadcasters who don't give the president or the administration a fair shake. Here's what he said.
I would rather the federal government stay out of the private sector as much as possible. And really, the federal government's role is to protect our freedoms, protect our constitutional rights.
Yeah, I think he's right about that. So Brendan Carr on X or other social media, here's what he said. He said, and I'm just reading from his tweet, broadcasters that are running hoaxes and news distortions, also known as fake news, have a chance now to correct course before their license renewal comes up. The law is clear. Broadcasters must operate in the public interest, and they will lose their licenses if they do not. And frankly, changing course is in their own business interest since trust in legacy media has now fallen to an all-time low of just 9% and our ratings disasters. The American people have subsidized broadcasters to the tune of billions of dollars by providing free access to the nation's airwaves. It is very important to bring trust back into media, which has earned itself the label of fake news. When a political candidate is able, this part's really weird that he wrote, when a political candidate is able to win a landslide election victory after and in the face of hoaxes and distortions, there is something very wrong. It means the public has lost faith and confidence in the media, and we can't allow that to happen. Time for change. Okay, well, but it sounds like if he's correct that only 9% trust the legacy media, then the market is working. Then their biased reporting and their nonsense reporting isn't carrying the weight, especially when he points out that electorally Donald Trump won a landslide election. So he overcame that. So I've got an issue with any government saying, I'm watching what you're saying. I'm watching what you're saying about me, and I have the power to shut you down. I got a problem with that because there's going to be a Democratic president and there's going to be a Democratic left-wing run Congress at some point. There could very well be Democrats in control of the House of Representatives after this year. Republicans might lose the House this year. I don't know if they will or not, but it's possible. And it is possible that a Democrat's getting elected in 2028. It's possible. I don't know. So are you willing to equip the government to go out and threaten your licenses because you don't like the content they're putting out?
Yeah. Polymarket, for example, they're betting platforms, so take it with a grain of salt.
Right.
But their results of their little poll projection things, especially when it came to the 2025 results, were actually a lot closer to the actual outcomes of the election, including the Congress people that won, the senators that won, all that good stuff, than any other poll in the nation. And they're projecting by a large margin that we probably will lose pretty dearly when it comes to the midterm. So with stuff like this, it's important to keep in mind, if you're supporting it now when it's being done to the people that you don't like, you have no right to cry or complain when it's done back to you when you lose power.
So the thing is that a lot of people can't separate out the two issues. The problem of biased media. And it's a problem. It's been a problem for a long time. That's where alternative media came from. I mean, would Newsmax television, would any of these streaming platforms, would any of these have been invented if the legacy media was doing its job and was trustworthy? It would not. The market's responding to it. Also, keep in mind the FCC has absolutely no control over cable news.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have any control over CNN. They don't have any control over MSNBC or whatever it's called now. They don't have any control over Fox News. They don't have any control over. They don't have any control over Newsmax.
They have control over us, though.
They do have control over us because we broadcast over the airways. And you may say, somebody may say, well, wait a minute, they have control over ABC, NBC, and CBS. No, they don't. Those are the networks. What they have control over are the local affiliates.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's like with the Jimmy Kimmel thing is when you start saying, we don't like what you're doing. You're airing this. We can yank your license for, Channel 30 in St. Louis or channel whatever in St. Louis or channel whatever in any city you want. Well, then the affiliates put the pressure upward. Well, that's not a market pressure. That's government pressure. And I always try to do that flip test that we've done on this show for a long time. Let's say that President Pritzker is there. President Newsom is there. President Whitmer is there. Go down the line. President Hochul, President whoever, Harris, whoever. They don't like that conservative talk because conservative talk has been targeted by Democrats in the past.
Oh, yeah.
That's and there is talk of that now. Matter of fact, some of the stuff the Trump administration is wanting to bring up as far as fairness doctrine and things like that could be easily used to shut down conservative talk radio. And so that's why I'm asking people to look a little bit farther down the line for the basic concept of, do you want your news or opinion media being micromanaged and have to be approved by the government of any kind? I would rather have more voices out there. And when the mainstream media is garbage like it is right now, and let's take Brandon Carr at his word that 9% trust the mainstream media. My guess it's higher than that, but let's just say that it's 9%. That means that 91% don't trust them, and they've earned it, and they're losing out in the free market, in the marketplace of ideas.
Yeah, there's something fundamentally wrong about some of the support I see for things like this, for people like us to be punished and being held to it because we actually have to follow by the FCC's guidelines,
right.
and because they're mad at the people that don't have to follow. So like to your like what you were saying about CNN and Fox,
right.
They can still do pretty much whatever they want to do. I mean, they're not. I mean, they're so large even as a network that they can probably take whatever hits would come at them. Versus, then we are going to have to play by rules that were not in spirit meant for people like us.
And we're careful to play by the rules here, anyway. But also, Brendan Carr he posted a screenshot of one of President Trump's True Social posts going after a lot of the newspapers and their coverage. In the president's complaints were valid. He was citing things that they just said that were just flat out untrue. Those are newspapers. Those aren't covered by the FCC either. But I mean, the point that that they were either gravely mistaken or just lying was true. That's correct. And we now live in an instant fact-checking world. Of course, now you got to fact-check the fact-checkers. Then you got to fact-check the fact-checkers who do the fact-checking on the fact-checkers. And so we've got all kinds of, chaos out there in that. But anytime somebody says, I want to use government more, and I want it to get bigger and stronger and reach deeper into something, especially that is into First Amendment territory, I get really, really queasy about it, regardless of which bad guy they're going after. And believe me, the legacy media are the bad guys.
Oh, yeah.
I have no respect for them any more than anybody else. And I'm not defending them. I think the market is punishing them enough as it is right now because I don't think they've got the influence they think they have.
Corporeal Being points out, I would only agree if the deception is intentional, like if quote-unquote news organizations push AI as if it's true, for example. And that's somewhat fair. I mean, we cannot push out like actual legitimate lies, knowing we're lying. We cannot create a hoax about something and stir up controversy. Those are
but you've got defamation of character and libel and things like that. Slander. You have ways in the system right now to deal with that. I just don't want to get in a situation where anybody has to think, oh, I want to say this. Will the government be mad at me?
And that also goes into the fact that the internet is not beholden to the FCC.
Right.
And that's where we see a lot of this misinformation that's being spread to begin with. Social media influencers can say whatever they want to say to their audience without repercussion, of course.
Yeah.
Unless there's something totally egregious. So I I'm right there with you. I don't like the idea of, hey, we don't like how you're covering a story or how you're presenting us. Therefore, we're just going to yank your license if you don't comply
This is a
with us.
nice little television broadcast station you got here. It'd be a shame if something happened to it.
Well, in case something does happen, I would like to remind people, though, that we do upload all of our conversations to the News Talk STL podcast under Mike Ferguson in the morning to all your favorite podcasting platforms. We had some really actually great discussions today. So if you missed out on the 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock hours, look up Mike Ferguson in the morning on your favorite podcasting platform.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
We Democrats know so much, that is true. And we have to kind of tell everybody how smart we are.
On News Talk STL.
Hey, Colombo here for Rockwood Charcoal. Rockwood is made from 100% pure Missouri oak and hickory, so you're cooking with the best and supporting local industry and a local business all at once. There's over 100 area Rockwood retailers. Find yours at rockwoodcharcoal.com.
Chris Arps here, and after Becky and I leave church on Sunday, we head down the street to Capriotti's to grab a classic meatball sub. And of course, for dessert, I get a giant chocolate chip cookie. I love Capriotti's, and you will too.
On Manchester at McKnight in Rock Hill.
Are you a proud American? Then join us for the Lincoln Trump Dinner, March 20th at Old Hickory Golf Club in St. Peters, hosted by the St. Charles County Republican Central Committee. The evening features a VIP reception, dinner and program with live music by the Comparato Trio. Register online at stcharlesgop.com. Don't miss this celebration of America's 250th year, the Lincoln Trump Dinner. See you March 20th.
Want a hands-free light that does not strap to your head or held in your mouth? Meet Dex Fingerlight at fingerlight.com. The Kryptonite ring fits any finger-pointing light exactly where you need it. Place decoys, handle gear, get close to roosted gobblers, fast, easy, stealthily. 3 light modes, waterproof, extremely durable. Developed by a father and son's Missouri team, Dex Fingerlight is faster and easier than a headlamp. Use discount code TONY20 for 20% off at fingerlight.com.
Colombo and Company.
Join us every day for conversations with a wide variety of guests as we keep you informed and up to speed on all the important news and headlines you need to know.
Live and local weekdays at 2 on News Talk STL.
Hey folks, Jamie Allman here, waiting for you for the 3 Martini Lunch, the Common Sense Radio, the Allman Report on News Talk STL. Now back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Actually, I didn't mention this a whole lot other than real quick with our conversation with Chief Weitzel. Tomorrow is the primary election day in Illinois.
Oh.
Yeah, because in Missouri, we're accustomed to the primary being in August, and there really aren't any big primary contests, to speak of in Missouri. So all the attention's going to end up being on the general election, and there really aren't any big contest on that. The biggest, most important is going to be the Amendment 3 vote. But in Illinois, the primary is tomorrow. I mean, early voting's open now, but tomorrow's the actual election day. And so, the Democrats have a primary for U.S. Senator. Republicans, somebody's running, but they don't seem to be putting up much of a fight. So it comes down to, how left wing will be the next senator from Illinois to replace Dick Durbin, who's not running for re-election. All of the Congress critters, from what I can tell, both good and bad, across the state, probably in pretty good shape. But then there's also, primary elections all over the place. Maybe the biggest, the most important race for the Republicans is going to be this race for governor. There are 4 candidates for the Republican nomination. Really, it comes down to 2, Darren Bailey and Ted Dabrowski. So we'll see who's going to be the spokesperson for Illinois. The Republicans are still going to have a very, very difficult time even competing in that race in Illinois. But keep that in mind as well here in the metro area.
I mean, going off the sports side of things, we've seen some amazing underdogs make some amazing comebacks. Right. Maybe we should have a little bit more faith in the Illinois voters.
That's one of the things, is that it's that perpetual cycle. You could also look at states like California, and maybe could you make the argument in Missouri for Democrats? For instance, in California, like for instance, every time somebody says, let's just use a national popular vote, stop doing this electoral college. Let's just do a national popular vote. Well, first of all, it's a terrible idea for a variety of reasons. And Democrats love to point out, yeah, but you only say that because Democrats have won the popular vote more often than Republicans have, even when Republicans have won the election, different years. And which is, that's a logical, defensible position. But if you had a national popular vote, all those Republicans who don't show up right now in California, all those Republicans who don't show up in Illinois, all those Democrats who don't show up in Missouri, they start showing up. Now, the Electoral College was to preserve the influence of the states over the federal government, and also to make sure that highly populated states do not run roughshod over the smaller states. That's the historical aspect of why there's an Electoral College and why I think we actually should keep the Electoral College. We just need to get the dang census right, so we're only counting American citizens on that.
Yes.
I don't know why that is so difficult for people to comprehend. So when you look at the races like in Illinois, that discouragement, which is kind of where you were starting about the have faith, the underdog, there are a lot of Republicans throughout Illinois, including in the north part of the state, but a lot of them just don't show up because what's the point? It's deep blue. They're going to run over the top of me anyway. Well, the more and more they show up, then the more influence they're going to have. But I get that it's a hard sell. Why am I going to show up? Everybody I'm going to vote for is going to lose anyway. It's not even going to be close. Well, if everybody who actually thought that said, I'm going to show up anyway, you might actually pick off a few races here and there.
Well, and just like we saw with St. Louis, I mean, the woke, crazy crowd, they got their way for the past few years, and then we finally had a more rational Democrat that ran for St. Louis mayor, and now we got somebody that actually has taken the responsibility seriously. So I know a lot of people right now, they're even on our side, that are just frustrated with things. They're like, I'm not even going to show up to waste my time to vote. Well, if enough of you get together and send that message out that, you increase how many people are voting a certain way, you send that message to them, then there's a possibility that a contender could come along, maybe still on the Democrat side, perhaps in Illinois, but would be willing to do more to play nice with the Republican sides of things and could dethrone people like J.B. Pritzker.
Well, and I mean, I grew up in Illinois at a time when Republicans were in power. I remember, Republicans being the governor and the Secretary of State. And, so but then again, I also remember when Democrats were in charge of Missouri. It happens from time to time. And here's the other aspect of this. Illinois, we're talking about the primary election tomorrow. Missouri, talking about the primary election in August. In April are some of the most important elections anywhere in your community. And we, for the most part, don't show up for those. In this area alone, the St. Louis metro area alone, there may be 100 tax increase proposals on the ballot. Now, some of those are trying to swap out property taxes for sales taxes because there's a lot of pressure on that. But others, it's just simply a property tax increase and or sales tax increases because government wants to spend more money on stuff. And when you don't show up, it's easier to pass those things, which is why they're almost always on April ballots. And we even saw some more egregious ones with ballots in November and December in off-year elections last year, because school districts like Rockwood and some of the others, they really wanted a tax increase, so they buried it on the lowest voter turnout elections they could find, and they ended up, because we caught wind of it, we being, basically conservative free market media, we caught wind of it, and we were able to drive up the vote to defeat it. But April elections matter. They matter a lot, especially on the school board races. There are debates in Missouri as to whether to basically get rid of the April elections and just move them all into August or November. I'm kind of agnostic on the idea. I'm fine with it either way. But if we keep not showing up in April, then we're passing up the opportunity to push our communities in the better direction, in a more free market conservative direction. And we're just sort of ceding things to the far left if we don't show up in April, which is why the school districts in particular are in the mess that they're in, because we didn't show up to put good people on the school boards for the most part.
Speaking of the timing of elections, 101 says St. Patrick's Day is probably not a great day to have an election, is it? Well, you kind of have to have it before the festivities go on. You don't want a bunch of hungover people showing up.
I got to tell you, if I still lived in Illinois and I knew that's who I had to be voting for and those were my choices, I might start drinking early too. You know what? I wouldn't drive there, but it's like the old Chris Rock joke. I'm not condoning it, but I understand.
Yes. And I get the frustration. I get the idea that, it feels like it doesn't matter anyways. But to your point, I mean, sometimes it is about sending that message. Sometimes it is about reminding them that you have not been completely demoralized to the point where you tuned out and you're just going to let them do whatever they're going to do. Sometimes it is setting that reminder that we are mad enough that we are at least willing to oppose you to your face. And I think that's a very important message to send in this day and age.
Yeah, and that's a momentum that has to be built over time. So many people get so worked up over the presidential race, get so worked up over the races for governor and U.S. Senate and all of those things. And there's nothing wrong with that. But you need to get just as involved in the races that happen in April. Get to know that. I mean, it's amazing how many races are uncontested for your city council or your board of aldermen or even for mayor a lot. That should not be the case. And if you go ask a random person, who's your alderperson or city council person? How many people would go, I don't know.
Yeah.
Probably a majority of people.
Well, and see, I would love to see people get as enthusiastic about local politics as we did when it came to Trump versus Harris. I mean, if we had that energy and we were doing that with our own local people, we would actually see changes in our communities.
Yep.